Hello, everyone, and welcome to another exciting episode of King Me Rev's Hype Podcast. Today, I have a very special guest, and I am genuinely excited for this one. All right. As I just came this weekend from New Order Wrestling, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, humans of all genders, please welcome Cory Von Quest.
That guy's the best. Chris, great to be here. Love seeing you on Saturday at New Order Wrestling. What an unbelievable night. I know we'll get into it, but I'm still coming off the high from that. I mean, the street fight alone, we'll talk, we'll probably get into that, but I'm so happy to be here. Great to meet you last Saturday. You and your daughter guys had a great time and had a great show. Got to see her favorite, Shannon Levangie, retain that New Order Wrestling Women's Championship. Of course, relentless Shannon Levangie. So, but yeah, again, I'm so excited to be here. Great meeting you last week. Great being here on the podcast. I'm really looking forward to sharing some stories with you and let you know some of my journey here.
Absolutely, absolutely. That's what it's all about. And yes, a lot of people like to ask us, where are we going to be this weekend? And sometimes I want to just put it out there ahead of time, but then I feel almost conceited or something. And then I always get at least one person who asks me, we're going to be this weekend. So maybe I should just get over my insecurities and just put it out there anyways. Anywhere Shannon Levangie is, that's where you'll find the King family. That is number one priority in this household, and um, that is JJ's goat. JJ absolutely fell in love and adores independent professional wrestling because of Shannon Levangie. And it funny story, and there was JJ as a younger JJ wasn't a really big fan of professional wrestling. Actually, she thought it was a little scary. She's like, "Why are these people just beating each other up? I don't get it." And we went to our first, we went to AEW, WWE, a few, NXT plenty of times, but we went to our first independent show, and it was actually next gen championship wrestling. And she was like, "Oh, okay. I see that the crowd's different here, that the vibe is different, right? Independent wrestling is so much different from the big guys." And you could see it kind of primed her to want to, scratch that itch a little bit and see more. And um, we went to, I'll never forget this. We went to Chick-fil-A in Nashua, New Hampshire. I just picked her up. That's where her and her mother live.
I got to
And
interrupt. Sweet and spicy sriracha or Chick-fil-A sauce?
Chick-fil-A sauce, man.
Ooh, controversial. I'm a sweet and spicy sriracha guy. Nothing wrong with the Chick-fil-A sauce, but that sweet and spicy sriracha, mwah.
Yeah. No, I mean, sriracha. I am actually a spice guy. I will put hot sauce on everything all day, even if it burns either way. I don't care. Um, but Chick-fil-A sauce is pretty classic, to be fair. Very classic. Also, to be fair, when I go there, the only thing I can really eat is the French fries. So
Fair
just
enough.
I'll eat the French fries. Um, but I just remember sitting there, and I looked at JJ, and I said, she was eating her chicken sandwich or whatever it was. And I said, "Hey, do you want to go to another indie show tonight?" And she's like, "I don't know." And I was like, "Well, they're gonna have women wrestling." And she was like, "Okay, let's check it out. Let's go." So we go there, and it was Shannon Levangie versus Mecca
Mm.
at Chaotic Wrestling in Lowell, Massachusetts, my hometown. And that was it. She was hooked, and we've gone to at least one show, if not two shows, every week since September. So
I mean, that's every first of all, wrestling parent's dream, number 1, but also what a great story, obviously, especially having someone as inspirational as Shannon Levangie in Chaotic, in New Order, in I think I've also called another one or match in some other feds, but having these independent professional wrestlers that can inspire family members, children, anyone it's what I love to see and why I joined back into the wrestling world last year. So, what a great story. Absolutely inspirational. And it's really great to see and hear things like that too. And having to meet your daughter at the show last week, I can see how much of a fan she was of not only Shannon, but wrestling in general. So that was really neat to see.
yeah, and not to throw shade at other people, because we actually, after we left the New Order Wrestling, we drove an hour and a half to Marlborough, Massachusetts,
I did
and
see
actually
that.
we watched the second half of Rebel Spirit, which we have plenty of good friends over at Rebel Spirit. Julie, as my daughter would call her, Auntie Julie. Um, we love you guys very much, but they had a street fight between TKO Ryan and Dustin Waller. And quite frankly, after the and after but after and those are two great professional wrestlers. I mean,
Unbelievable names. When you said both of those, I'm like, I should have driven up there myself after the show.
right? It was a great match. But after what we saw at NOW, we were like, all right, we know which one was better today. Okay.
And we'll probably get into it. I will say my commentary booth is intact. We didn't lose any headsets, any technology during the event of that street fight. I'm actually editing the footage well, not at this very moment, but right before they got on, I was editing some of the footage, and thankfully, all of our technology is safe after that street fight. But you'll have to check out New Order Wrestling's YouTube page and my Instagram page to see some of those clips later this week.
Absolutely. And as anybody on the channel would know, they're going to be on my channel eventually as well, probably in about a week and a half from right now. I was doing the same thing. I was actually editing Limitless Wrestling that we had gone to, and I was putting it on. So today, my last two drops for a Chaotix last show from 2 weeks ago. And then I'm basically just going to go back to back with the Limitless show because they had 5 matches. And no shade to them that they had 5 matches, because I know they had the Giant War Zone and it was a 4-on-4 super cage.
And yeah,
So that was like an hour of war and death. But so that was a treat in itself. But all that's going to drop it at basically at one cluster this week, and then now should be in about a week and a half from now. But uh you know but yeah, and it's a great segue because I really was very curious. I'm sure you probably get, based upon what I've come to read and understand about you, you probably get that question all the time about being a PA with the WWE. But quite frankly, I'm more curious myself. So I actually went to the Art Institute of Phoenix to get a bachelor's degree in digital filmmaking and video production. And there was a time in my life where I had to kind of give up on my dreams because I had 3 kids and a wife, and being a PA is not gonna cut it. So my brain automatically knew when I read your story, oh, I see why he walked away. And I understand why other people are like, I would never walk away. Yeah, okay, well, you didn't have the same responsibilities. All right, I get it. But I was more curious of what got you back into professional wrestling after all that time.
yeah. So I'll give you a quick, again, a little overview of my history too. Little the Corey story, as I've called it before, or the quest for greatness. I don't know what you want to call it. I got a lot of quips. Don't worry, came up with a lot of them. Cory Von Quest, that guy's the best. Get your shirt your next show. But anyways, yeah. So I graduated college, Central Connecticut State University. Shout out Blue Devils. And I've been here in Central Connecticut pretty much my whole life. I moved to New Haven recently. Pizza, love by myself some pizzas. Modern, by the way, best out of the three. I know that's a little controversial. I might get some hate for it. But, anyways, so I was living in Hartford, Connecticut. And as you know, WWE is located in Stamford, Connecticut. And if anyone on this podcast watching this has ever driven in the state of Connecticut, you know it's living hell on earth. The Merritt Parkway, 15, 95, 91, it's absolute chaos. Now try to envision driving from Hartford, Connecticut, down the Merritt Parkway, down 91, down 95 to Stamford 4 days a week, because at the time, we're talking about 10, 12 years ago, your boy just couldn't afford housing in Stamford right after graduating college. So had to commute from my hometown in Hartford. And that drive obviously was not fun or uh, economically savvy for your part driving, and gas prices 10 years ago, God, who knows what they were then compared to what they are. But anyways, we won't get into that. But yeah, right off the bat, that wasn't exactly the smartest decision in regards to my finances, was to be traveling from Hartford to Stanford, even though it was for, my dream job. I went to college, got my bachelor's degree in broadcast journalism and music. So kind of went into that little field, and I was able to get lucky enough to start as an intern with the WWE, and then I became a full-fledged production assistant with the Classics on Demand department. So let's go back in time for a minute. There were apps. I'm talking 12, 10, I think about 11 years ago now. apps. What were apps? You know, smartphones were nowhere where they were today. Things TV cable was still a way how to watch TV back then. I'm only talking 10 years ago. I'm not that old. But anyways, I worked for the classics on demand department. And if anyone has any recollection or memory of it, that was the pre WWE network. So you remember
Yeah.
WWE network came out, 9.99 a month. What a time, by the way. What a time to be a wrestling fan when that
What
for
we did not
the
know.
infancy of the network. My gosh. But I know they still got some stuff on YouTube, but we'll talk about that later. But anyway, so worked on the Classics on Demand department, which was the infancy of WWE Network. And as I worked there, I actually saw the very, very beginnings of the chatter of WWE Network, which was really cool to be a part of. But anyways, my main job there as a PA was to kind of assist with, and I was fresh out of college, so of course you're not going to get the big roles. I do have a fun story that we'll get to on that, but yeah. So as a PA, I would log a lot of footage. That was one of my main goals was to find footage, log it, track it, basically saying what's going on in this clip from this timestamp to this timestamp. Doesn't sound like the most exciting stuff, but when you get to watch when it's professional wrestling from the 80s, the 90s, I haven't found footage. We'll get into that, but there's crazy amounts of generations of footage that I was able to watch, get through. And that really, I was already a wrestling fan. I know we'll probably talk about how'd you become a wrestling fan? Well, obviously being a fan, getting to the WWE, I mean, that's the dream, right? Even if you're in the background, in the back end, like I was at the time. So that if you want to talk about high level cloud, it was going through old footage, logging it, and again, talking about the infancies of WWE Network, all of my work there, and there's hundreds of other people. I don't want to put any shine at myself, but hundreds of people working on this project, saying, "All right, at minute 52:42, Bullet Bob Armstrong did a back suplex to things like that." Because one of my main goals at the time there was working on the Hall of Fame footage from Bullet Bob Armstrong and the Road Warriors, who were both inducted into WWE Hall of Fame. I believe 2011. I mean, you have to look back on that, but that year is when I worked there, and most of the footage that I worked in on my time there was for the WWE Hall of Fame induction ceremony there. So that was really cool to learn. At the time, I hadn't really gotten a lot of hands-on of old footage of wrestling, so being able now to see footage from the 70s, the 80s, the 90s. Obviously, I watched it as a child too, but that was a really eye-opening experience for me. And my main role at the WWE, if you wanted to get a high level overview, I wasn't getting coffee, no, and I wasn't getting drinks off the side. I actually was doing real work, thank God, even as an intern. So I got a shout out to Tavis Tenney. He was my manager at the time. Pat and Drew, if you guys ever watch this, love you guys. You helped me mold where we were today. So I'll pause for a moment if you have any questions on that. But that's a high level overview of my time at the WWE I spent there for just about a year.
Yeah, so I mean, as a film kid myself, as a wrestling nerd, right? That sounds like a dream job, right? But most people wouldn't understand it. That even as if that might be a dream job, doesn't mean it pays the rent, right? So I it must have been, if there was 18-year-old me living at home and had no other responsibilities or whatever, that seems like a dream. I would be like, all right, well, I can just sleep in my car in the parking lot and I'll just keep doing that forever.
I wish, but yeah,
But
paying
grown
off those
men with
college loans.
exactly, exactly. Grown men with college loans can't play that game.
Nope, absolutely
That's
not.
not how
So
that works. So
that's yeah, and that's to get it to bookmark that. That's the reason why I departed WWE is I just wasn't making enough money to live, and had some responsibilities up here in Hartford area. So one thing led to the other, and I did leave for a little bit of a higher paying job. And in the last 10 years, up until that we're back here in the wrestling industry, been working in finance. So learning how to make sure that I can afford when I've worked maybe for WWE or another bigger company down the line that I can afford. And I can tell you right now, I think I can do that pretty well. But yeah, these last 10 years of financial education, financial literacy definitely has gotten me a little bit better situation where now I can sit here with you on this podcast with this fancy microphone and these beautiful sunglasses and this beautiful shirt saying, "Hey, Cory Von Quest, that guy's the best." Put in my time, and here we are now back in the industry. Not we're not in WWE, but you know what? Right now, it's a little. We don't know if we want to be, at certain times. Not to throw some shade around, but everyone watches the news lately and sees
I
the post.
know.
But
Honestly, in
anyways,
my opinion, I'll say it. I don't think WWE is the place to be anymore. I don't think, in my opinion, I'm gonna say I'd rather be in AEW. I just
so I don't know how far in, we want to get on fandom and whatnot, but let's talk about, why not talk about that real quick? Because I'm a realist, I'll tell you how things are. 100% right. If I had to choose between right now, AEW is the hotter product. And quite honestly, when it comes to wrestling, and I know probably we'll talk about this too, and we can talk about it now, I try to consume as least wrestling of the mainstream stuff as possible when it comes up to show days because I want to focus specifically on the match and the talent that I'm calling. So a lot of the wrestling I've been watching lately is stuff on YouTube of the guys and gals that I'll be calling matches up. But right now, if we're talking if I'm going to throw on something on the weekdays, I'm not watching 6 days of wrestling every night. That's kind of crazy. But Wednesday night Dynamite, pop me on that couch and I'm there because I like to record my matches of the year and 5 or 6 of them right off are from Dynamite or some of those AEW pay per views because hey, they put on if you wanna see wrestling, it's where they call it where the best wrestle, right? So, I'll have to say and again, not throwing any shade towards WWE, but they're just a different type flavor of ice cream right now. And sometimes you just don't want that flavor of ice cream. That's how I compare wrestling a lot of times to people is, different toppings on your pizza, different flavors of ice cream. All at the end of the day, it's all the ice cream. All the ice cream works together to become ice cream, but not everybody likes every flavor of ice cream, and that's completely fine. So, if there's one thing taken away out of this, it's okay to like different wrestling, different ice cream flavors. It's completely fine. And if there's people that don't like the same ice cream flavor that you like, you don't have to put them down. You don't have to gatekeep them. That's what this tribalism is all about. And I absolutely cannot stand
Ugh.
that in wrestling. So I know we don't want to get on a negative side
Yeah.
on this podcast, but
No, no,
come on,
no.
people.
It's
AEW,
always
WWE, MLW, TNA, New Japan, it's all wrestling. Just like it. Don't have to gatekeep it. Don't have to insult people for liking the other thing. Just be happy that you have wrestling 6 days a week on cable television, on YouTube of how much free wrestling you can get. But anyways, I'll get down off my soapbox.
as Brian Zane would say, like what you like, just don't be a dick, right?
Thank you. Thank you.
I completely go into the tribalism thing. I think it's idiotic and to be quite frank, if you are being a tribalist of WWE versus AEW, you are literally dismissing the tens of thousands of other wrestlers and all the other promotions that are occurring at pretty much all the days in every way all the time anywhere else because I guarantee you whether we know it or right now it may be the you can it doesn't matter if you're in the middle day of a Monday or a Tuesday it's night somewhere and there's probably wrestling going on in India right now or Japan or wherever so and
24/7, 365.
right and 30 years ago you couldn't have really seen it unless you got the tapes but their internet exists, right? I could go on newjapan.com right now and watch whatever they have in live at 2 in the
Crazy.
morning. So like to pretend like it's kind of like the tired old Coke versus Pepsi. It's like, yeah, that
I'm a
made
Pepsi guy.
sense in 1992 when those were the only two sodas that existed. But now we have a billion other things anyone can drink. So like that's just over and old. It makes no sense whatsoever. And you said MLW. Shout out to Donovan Dijak,
Oh boy, if we're
one half
comparing
of.
cards, we're gonna be on here for another few hours because I got some heavy hitters that we can talk about here.
I should
Because I'm
I
also
should
a
probably put
collector.
this away. I keep throwing this
But
out there. I should probably put
yeah,
this
once we're
away.
done chatting, I'll bring out some of the big pulls. I got some stuff laying around here in the Quest Cave. By the way, welcome to the Quest Cave. It's a little bit under construction right now, as you can see behind me. We're getting our carpets redone. I know, but yeah, I got a lot of stuff to show off if we have time for it. So right now, though, gotta shout out Mario 64, one of the greatest games of all time. But anyways, you brought up a great point. I do want to rewind just a moment back to when it comes to the amount of content and the amount of just wrestling there is now. And that's another reason why you asked me a little while ago why I got back into. So, I left WWE due to financial reasons. Nothing that, again, my time there, I had a blast. I learned more. Coming from, and let's completely throw the wrestling out of it for a second. I was a college kid, fresh out of college. I'm going to tell you, I was not a good student. I'll be the first to tell you, not a good student, but I learned so much working at WWE fresh out of college because it's such a humbling and kind of shocking experience to go from just some schmo that I was working at Blockbuster. I know that we're talking about dating. I did GameStop, I did Blockbuster, I did FYE. I was there. I got some horror stories about that too. But um, having that as my only work experience and then getting plopped in to WWE, talk about humbling. I I was if Iron Sheik was there, he would have humbled me, Bubba. Let me tell you, because I was whipped into shape very quickly. And I will say that year experience there really molded me into the career path that I chose for the last decade, and, became pretty higher up in a lot of execs let's rewind that. Some higher ups and some executive management teams, and I trained them a lot. So getting that experience of working in such a big corporation, obviously one of the biggest corporations in the world at the time, and still is WWE, it really gave me a lot of professional experience into my career that I chose up until today. And now that I'm here and doing commentating and video production I'm now at my fifth different promotion with New Order. We got Tetsu Pro coming up May 30th, Bristol, Connecticut. Shout out. Um, I've had so much fun working for these. Yeah, I got to shout them out. New Order Wrestling, Pure Vanguard Wrestling, BST, Blood and Sweat and Tears. Those guys are the absolute best. Please check them out too. All of these guys. And then New Order and oh my God, I have a fourth that I just blanked on. Apologies. New Order, Pure Vanguard, Tetsu. I said them all four. Okay. Whew, got nervous there. And then July 4th, Handyman Jake Gray is coming up with a show on the 4th of July. It's going to be an outdoor show. Check out his Instagram or my Instagram for a little bit more details. I'll be doing video production for that as well, and, that should be a wild, outdoor, beautiful day show, so shout out to,
Yeah,
Jake Gray for putting that
honestly,
one
and
on.
Jake's been on the podcast before, and
Heck yeah, Jake.
I
So,
was
the first, show I did with New Order, he did a guest spot on commentary with me, so that was really neat to do commentary with Jake. Get well soon. I know he's recovering from a crazy, crazy injury, so glad to
mm,
see he's getting back in the ring and, in shape.
yeah, no, I'm very excited for that 4th of July show, and I'm definitely gonna have to get him back on the podcast so he could tell me how all that
Oh,
came
yeah.
together. Also very excited that the B-dubs have now been on the Wrestling Open because one of my personal fantasy bookings would be the B-dubs versus Wrench and Resolve. So now that you got Cash Money McGinnis and Patrick Wheatman, the breadwinners, running amok at the Wrestling Open, and we have Jake, you know, the handyman's coming back soon. Hopefully, everything goes well. Knock on wood here. Hopefully we get to see that this year because I think that's going to be a phenomenal thing. But shout out to the handyman.
Yes.
Like I said, he was on the podcast. Great guy. I love me and my daughter interviewed him. We love him very much. He's that terrible accident. So hopefully everything is much better soon, and we definitely, as of right now, expect to be there on the 4th of July.
Good, I'll see you there, my friend, so here's hoping to good weather, so
Yeah.
I think I answered you that. About the last 20 minutes, I answered why you left WWE and why you are today. I think that's finally the answer to that question. I think we finally bookmarked it. But if you want to bookmark anything, I've been here now for a year working with production and working in commentary, and I have had more fun in this year than I ever had in any career path that I've chosen, whether it be what I told you earlier, even with WWE. This has just been it's, call it a dream, call it what you want. I'm just calling it fun. I'm having such a good time, even when my commentary booth gets torn apart. Fly Nine Noriega, Daddy Cat, coming. Cory Von Quest is coming for you
We're
now,
coming
guys.
for you, Nogre.
Like I said, everything was good. Nothing got beat up. But hopefully, the first of many.
No.
I love getting knee deep in any project, and let me tell you, I was knee deep in that project. Well, just to give people some insights, during the street fight that we were talking about earlier, Daddy Cat, DC Donovan, Cactus Cat, as we known, meow, had a street fight for the Street Fight Championship against our champion Fly Nine Noriega, all over the arena. I know you could speak to it. I saw the action go right in front of you guys, and it had some good,
Yeah.
great video, by the way, of that table. Off the top rope table break. My goodness. But yeah, they got thrown in the commentary booth. We made it through. Footage is good. I was working on it right before this interview, so we'll look forward to releasing that early this week. I think maybe tomorrow, Wednesday. We'll see. But yeah, crazy, crazy stuff.
Yeah, and the funny thing was, when JJ and I got to the was it the MassCon Training
Mascon
Center?
Training Center,
Okay.
31 Agawam Street, 151 Agawam Street. Yeah, great, cool venue. I
Right.
really hope to be back there. Uh, it was beautiful spot.
Yeah, it was definitely the first time I could say that we had to put on a jacket to go inside, but with the fact that it's gonna be, like, 92 tomorrow, like, that's not a complaint whatsoever. It was just a little different, and if anything, it made me feel better because I was very much in agonizing pain over the weekend from various reasons, but,
I was
it
hoping
was
we could get
definitely
into that,
definitely
ice hockey rink during the night, but
yeah, yeah, ice
maybe
hockey
next
for
time.
sure. But, it was we definitely got there, and it was, kinda hard to miss you with all your stuff when we clocked you, and I was like, "That's the guy on Monday," and she's like, "You know, talk to him," and I was like, "No, he looks way too busy right now, he's juggling, like, 9 different things on that table. I am gonna wait till later. If he's not busy, then I won't bug him at all, but maybe at intermission, I'll see if I can talk to him. If not, it's okay, I understand," because you had what, 3 cameras that you were worried about, was it? And you were doing commentary while you were helping change batteries and all kinds of stuff. So, what don't you do? Maybe that's the question I should be asking. What don't you do at NOW?
Well, I actually do this for pretty much any show that I run production at. I do commentary, video production, and I have some awesome folks that usually help me out with those cameras. So yeah, I live commentary is, first thing. We'll start with that because Cory Von Quest, that guy's the best. Look at the t-shirt, look at the headphones. But yeah, I actually own and operate all my gear. I went out after about a year or so ago. I'm like, I want to invest in some camera equipment for streaming because I'm a big gamer. As you can see, shout out Cory Von Quest on Twitch. Play some Fortnite every once in a while. The game's a little bit down right now, but we still play every once in a while. But anyways, invested in some audio equipment. This beautiful microphone I'm speaking to now, and my over-the-ear headsets that you saw at the show. I right off the bat, I've always been a big fan of commentary. I love just listening to the voices of people that and the different words and emotions that they chose to talk about the sporting events. Now, I'll tell you right now, I absolutely love wrestling, but my number one love is baseball. Pittsburgh Pirates, we're in a little bit of a slump right now. I got swept by the Phillies, but baseball's been my number one. And just listening to commentators, growing up listening to John Sterling, who we just lost about a week and a half ago. Rest in peace, John Sterling. Yankees win. Growing up as a child here in New England, that's all that was on TV, the radio, the Yankees. I grew up as a Yankees fan. So John Sterling, Michael Kay, all those incredible legendary voices. And now that's the one thing that is beautiful about sportscasting, and that is the voices. You have wrestling, you have the visuals, you have baseball, you have the crack of the bat, but those voices that you immediately associate with that team, with that sport is, John Sterling, who we just lost, he will live on forever because of his voice. And you'll hear his voice forever. And that's what's really inspiring. Am I going to be that? Most likely not. I'll tell you right now, the odds of that happening. Hey, maybe I'll come back to this podcast someday and say, hey, I was wrong. But being able to communicate with your voice, with emotion, the event that's happening in front of you has always been captivating to me. And also doing that from a standpoint of what you're seeing with the camera. Since a child, I've always loved taking pictures, taking video of things. And my mother even says that to this day that I've always had a knack for that. So why not combine everything into something that I love? And I had Xander Litt, who is the president CEO of Tetsu Pro. I go back with him a few years, back to the college days, and he knows that I went to school for broadcasting. So we made a connection recently, and that's how I got back into Tetsu. I started the video production with Tetsu and commentary. So that's where kind of this whole journey began. I had a laptop, I had a camera, and I had this microphone that you're speaking to right now. That was number one show. And I'm like, I am so unequipped for this. And I didn't have any cameraman. I didn't do any. I just had my phone recording hard cam. And then after that first show, I was like, am I cut out for this? Number one. I also did commentary by myself for the first time. So I went into the show first with just my little microphone, my camera, and nothing else. And then I found out about a half hour before, like, oh, you're doing commentary by yourself for your first ever show. And I'd never done commentary ever, live camera ever. Not in college, not in high school, not in that. Now, I will say my background is in learning and development, so I am used to talking in front of a camera or in front of a crowd. I even played a bunch of shows in college. I was in a band, so it's not my first time in front of an audience or in front of a camera. So that part, honestly, to me is easy. But the technical standpoints of getting the cameras in the right direction, getting my audio set up correctly, making sure it was mind blowing at first. But now that I have this great system that I have, and fast forward to New Order last week, I had two 4K cameras running at ringside with my two great cameramen, Nate and Sousa. Shout out, those guys are great. And then I had my hard cam running. I have my announcer cam running, the one that is right happening right here. And sometimes I get my phone out, and so I have technically four or five. I have two GoPros hanging around, so I have about a 6 camera setup that I can do at any show. I get all that footage, I throw it into my beautiful computer here, and then I edit in Premiere Pro and mix it together. Which talk it. A lot of people may say that's a little old school. Well, I went to college 10, 15 years ago, and that's how I learned.
Yeah.
I know video editing has just been I don't even wanna start to talk about where it's gone today, and, obviously AI is in it too, but man, I am hands-on with everything I do. Everything in there, plop it in my SD cards, wait for it to upload to my computer, and right now they're all in Premiere, and I'm doing every mix one by one. The camera cuts myself to make sure because I know I wanna make sure that, first of all, everything looks good, all the wrestlers look good, everything sounds good, because at the end of the day, my job, that's my job, is not to commentate, is to make this promotion and these performers look the best and sound the best that they possibly can be. And by me doing that with 5, 6 different cameras, upgrading some 4K cameras, they look so nice, is very important to me because I wanna make sure none of my work is not up to the standard that I think it should be, especially with my experience. And is my stuff perfect time to time? Absolutely not. I've had a lot of hiccups over just at New Order. Last week we had some power issues. My hard cam didn't get all the shots that I would have loved it to get. Not a problem. I had two fantastic cameramen shooting at 4K right at the ringside. So didn't miss anything. But that's one thing. I always like to try to pre-plan and make sure I have a lot of backup steps in place in case there is a catastrophic because you know, not every place, every venue has the same setup. I need power, you need lighting, you need so many other things. So I always make sure to adapt each one of my situations to the promotion and what makes best for the talent, the promoters, and myself at times. So that is a high level overview of everything I go over, everything I am responsible for at the shows I do, especially here at New Order. And Dave give me such a great opportunity for that.
Yeah, and that's wonderful. I know some people might think of it being old school, but I mean, to me, there's no school like old school, man. It just, you could sit here and try to cheat and chop together AI nonsense all you want or clip it to death, but at the end of the day, you have to be able to put your rubber stamp on this and say that you produced it. So if you need to do 19 cameras, all right, to make it feel like you were it's worthy of your stamp, then more power to you. You know what I mean? Like I know that myself, anytime I'm doing something, I'm having at least, you said it briefly for a second there when the two gentlemen came off the top rope into the tables. I had three cameras on that
Mhm.
because I was waiting for that the whole time. Am I gonna? I already put out one. I'm sure I'm gonna have when I eventually when I slice it together, I might have all three. Who knows? But and
Isn't that a
I'm just a guy
beautiful
standing there. So
But as someone that obviously watches and has been in the industry, and it's a beautiful, beautiful thing. And call yourself a fan, call yourself when you know that something's coming that other people maybe not. And I'm not saying they didn't know a table spot was coming when there's a
yeah,
table laid out, but when you know that something's coming and other people don't because of the experience, and that's one thing I like to say. Whether I'm sitting down on a Wednesday watching Dynamite or on a Sunday watching a PLE, you could see, knowing that thing is coming is such a beautiful thing, and then seeing it happen in front of you, whether it's on cable television or whether it's in the MassCon training center, it's like, I know it's about to happen, and getting that I can't wait. And then even from a commentary standpoint, oh my god, what am I gonna say? How am I gonna go off the top, off the rails on this? And some of my calls, I'm a little bit of a nut job sometimes. So some of the things I say are pretty much everything I say is off the top of my head. This entire interview, you know, are, I have nothing, no notes written down. So whatever you're asking me is right from this dome. Everything on commentary, I don't take notes. I don't practice anything. And what do you mean you don't practice? I don't. I'm an in the moment type of guy. Even when I do training, um, in my other career and in college when I did public speaking, I did not prepare a single one of my speeches. Not a single one, and I'm very proud of that. Everything I say comes right off the top of this gigantic head of mine. 7 3/4 this head is. I got a huge head, but, um, that's one thing I feel is organic about my calls, and Dan Demand, by the way, I haven't said it yet. Oh my god, Dan Demand. I've been watching Dan wrestle and in wrestling for at least 10, 15 years. I used to see him as a fan in the crowd. CTWE, shout out, if anyone remembers those shows back in the day, Bethany Town Hall. Dan was such a great character, great wrestler. Now having him as my broadcast colleague 10 years later is awesome. He's such an inspiration to me. He's such a great, great leader for me. And I can't say enough good things about Dan. But yeah, he's my co-commentator with New Order as well. Shout out Dan DeMan. Love you, buddy.
and it's funny you mentioned that. You gave me a cheap segue I was hoping for, anyways.
I'm the king of
Um,
segues, buddy.
there you go. He when he pulled up to to the venue and got out of the car, JJ looked at me and she's like, "Well, if you don't know what talent looks like, there it is." And she couldn't have been more proud of herself to be able to point it out from across the parking lot with a guy who literally just drove by for 30 seconds. Like, she couldn't have been more proud of herself. And he
You
started
got yourself
walking
a
over
winner
and he
there,
was,
bud. Be
yeah.
proud.
And he started walking over and he walked right into he didn't stop walking. The door opened for him and he just kept going in.
Yeah.
And she was just like, you know what I mean? She was just
Doors
so,
open for Dan DeMann. Dan DeMann does not open doors. Doors open for him.
exactly. Oh,
You have
and
to cheer
she
for
was
him,
so,
remember.
exactly. The shout out to him for sure. But she was just so proud of herself for being able to be like, she was like, I know that's talent right there." And that was like proud dad moment right now. The very proud dad moment right now. She's like, "I don't know who he is, but I know he's talent." You know what I mean? She
Smart.
got it. And I was
And
like,
that goes back again, talking about the segue, knowing and seeing things that other people may not see right away is it's I don't wanna say it's specific to wrestling, but wrestling is I don't wanna get into the ideologically and logistically of wrestling, but my god, wrestling gives you feelings and different emotions that no other form of sports or entertainment can give you, and it's another reason why I chose to come here. I said I love baseball, and would I love to be involved in baseball someday? Absolutely. But the creative canvas that everyone in professional wrestling have, from commentators to podcasters to managers to talent, it's just like ice cream. You can throw any toppings you want on an ice cream, and at the end of the day, it's still going to be ice cream. You can make yourself be whatever you want to be. You can make the situation sound however what it likes to sound. It's like nothing else. That's what I love about it.
yeah, I absolutely agree. I mean, honestly, if I didn't like wrestling, I'd pick the wrong podcast to do. That wouldn't make any sense. Um, but and speaking in, I guess, speaking in generalities of that, and also kind of segueing back to Shannon and to my daughter. I had a very proud dad moment when we went to Rad Pro Wrestling 2 weeks ago, because during the main event, my daughter kept swearing up and down. She's like, "Just wait. After this match is over, Eyeless is gonna come out. Eyeless is gonna come out." And she was very adamant about the idea that Eyeless was gonna come out during just after the main event. And sure enough, Eyeless came out and she was like, "I told you, I told you." And I was like she thought she was like moderately insulting me, but as like a father, I was like, you have reached the next level, my young Padawan."
You just
And she was like,
transcended.
I don't, she didn't understand where I was coming from. And I was like, "Listen, you've been watching the product enough to know that you were predicted the next step that you thought was the most logical step, and it became true. So you might think that you were showing me up in some way, but you just made me so proud of you that you were able to understand the product to that extent." And that's something you're not going to get with baseball. I love baseball. I love baseball. I have, I'm from the other half of New England, so I have a Red Sox tattoo, right? We always like to make I always like to make that joke cuz I had a buddy from Connecticut. Uh Shout out to Chris, and he was a big Yankees fan, and I'd always razz him and be like, "You're from the good half of Connecticut. Why are you a Yankees fan?"
There is no good half of Connecticut, let me tell you right now. It's just a highway between New York and Boston. I've been here for 38 years. Uh, it's that's a whole nother discussion for another podcast. But hey, that being said, I give Connecticut a lot of depth. We are in a great spot. I can jump on a train, get right to New Haven or to New York from New Haven in an hour and a half. You can drive up to I love Boston, by the way. Boston's one of my favorite cities. Beautiful spot there. Hour and a half up to Boston. Connecticut is in that beautiful spot, right middle spot where all the good stuff is. There may not be anything happening here right now, but there's a lot of stuff in every other direction. But yeah, Connecticut's it's an odd beast, but hey, I've navigated these roads for 30 plus years, so ain't looking to change it up now.
Right, right, right. You know, and honestly, if anything, you were talking about, I would follow Kaz Egan and go to Banana Ball. I'm just gonna be honest. I would go to Banana Ball. I feel like Banana
But
Ball would be way more fun.
yeah, I went to Fenway for Banana Ball. I was my first experience with the Savannah Bananas. You know, not to go too off track here, but I watch MLB. So MLB Network is on my television. I work, I'm here at the house remotely. MLB Network is on my television at least 9 to 12 hours out of the day. So I have that on pretty much all day. And when the bananas first kind of appeared, well, it was like around the COVID era ish. And I said to myself, I'm like, man, those guys are going to they're going to be something. Like I saw them in their infancy. And now to see they're on Disney Plus. I mean, I don't have to say anything more other than that. When you can go from, this podunk bootleg Harlem Globetrotter baseball affiliate, and now you're on Disney Plus selling out football stadiums. That speaks for itself. So Savannah Bananas,
Yeah.
man, that's something. I'm
They even
super happy to see those guys. And the Mac, big New England standout. I don't know if you're familiar with the Mac. He actually works now for Savannah Bananas. He was a wrestler here in Connecticut for a long time. NEW days. But yeah, the Mac is part of Savannah baseball now. Savannah Bananas baseball. So the party starter, the Mac. Shout out.
party starter. Yeah, and they even have a, cruise coming up, which I'm not sure how that's gonna work with baseball on a cruise ship, but I'm sure they'll
Hey,
figure it out.
I've been on 2 wrestling cruises. If that could work, I think baseball could work.
Yeah, I mean, it is crazy to think that, AEW was doing, like, live Dynamites on a cruise ship in the middle of the ocean, right?
I will say I did attend the first 2 Chris Jericho cruises. Me and my camera boy Sousa, shout out. He's been on a bunch of them, but I gotta tell you a quick story from the first cruise because it's one of those wrestling stories that I'll never ever forget, and it has pretty much nothing to do with wrestling. So I'm sitting, and I will completely transparent here. I went as a fan. We're talking about 5 or 6 years ago. I wasn't in the industry then, so why not go on a cruise? Not hey, we don't want to go on cruises nowadays, 2026. We're looking a little bit Hanta virus. So we want to stay away. Uh, so, anyways, we're on the cruise. Is Hangman Adam Page versus Mark Briscoe, which this is the first Jericho cruise. AEW has not even been muttered yet. So this is specifically
Right.
Ring of Honor.
Right,
So
right,
we're talking
right.
about infancy of Hangman, infancy of a lot of these current guys that you see on WWE and AEW and MLW and nowadays. So, anyways, early Hangman, early Mark. By the way, the Briscoes, they might be my favorite tag team of all time. So it's still bad we lost Jay. But anyways, singles match. Adam Page, Mark Briscoe. We're into it. I'm right next to the commentary booth. I know, ironically. Go figure where I'm standing. And on commentary is Colt Cabana and Jay Lethal. So I can hear everything they're saying because I'm standing right there. We're watching the match. And you're in the middle of the ocean. So it almost looks like my extremely boring white background here. There is nothing for miles in the sky, and you just see ocean and blank sky, and it's a beautiful day. So we're sitting there, and something catches my eye in the sky because you're in the middle of nowhere. So something out of is going to do it. And sure enough, there's a bird. So I'm watching this bird, and it's kind of like shaking around a little bit, and then I watched every moment of it happen. It comes crashing down right into the crowd, front row of the match. Colt Cabana saw the same thing I said and if you find it, it's on YouTube, the match itself, and you can hear Colt Cabana just going ape shit, talking about this bird that just dive bombed into the front row of the crowd. And everyone just lost all focus on the match. And Colt Cabana and Jay Lethal and everyone around are just dying because this poor bird just went flying. The bird no sold the dive, got up, and then a security guard escorted him out of the arena, and then he went a little bit. I think he went back into his home, but it was one of the most mind blowing things, and I'll never forget it. Just because Colt Cabana and I saw it happen at the same time and had the same most ridiculous hysterical reaction. But I just had to bring that up because he brought it up, and it's on. He brought it up on his podcast recently, a couple years ago, and then there's a clip of it on YouTube. Go out and look for the first Jericho Cruise, Hangman versus Mark Briscoe, and then there is a bird spot. I promise.
That sounds fantastic.
It was
I've honestly been wanting to go on that cruise. I just don't wanna do it by myself, and then my daughter is not keen on the idea of a cruise at all, and, you said it yourself, that whole virus thing, oh, man,
yeah.
she has
I
been.
would say maybe give a cruise another couple years before we clean out the
Right,
boats. But
right, she is.
I got off the second cruise, the second Jericho cruise, like 2 weeks before the word COVID was muttered. So that was probably my last cruise.
Yeah. No, I don't blame you on that. Myself, I had to really kind of play down the whole virus thing this week because my daughter was just getting very worried about it. And then I
Eh.
had to go back on her Instagram algorithm and block out that word so it wouldn't pop up anymore because she was getting very stressed out. But essentially, I just kind of no sold the whole thing. And then I just turned it into a silly, stupid gimmick where I was like, well, you know what's next, right? The Santa virus. We're going to get a virus that turns you into Santa Claus. And then she was like, "What the hell are you talking about?"
I
I
mean, you
had to
do bring up a
go.
good point that, current
She's a
events are
child.
basically gimmicks now, so all the news,
Right.
it's all work. All of the news currently, all of the stories going on,
So
we're all
it
getting
is.
worked. So
It is.
she knows.
Exactly. So I just went off into this whole tangent, this whole gimmick thing about how, well, if you're a really bad person and you get the Santa virus, you're not going to become it's too much like Santa Claus. You'll be one of Santa's elves. All right. You'll just be an elf. You'll have to help the people. But if you're a good person, you get the Santa virus, you'll just be a Santa and you'll just be helping give away a bunch of free stuff. It won't be the end of the world. And then she would just kind of like we went down a whole stupid rabbit hole about it, and then I just kind of said, "Don't worry, Shannon will be fine. She's too nice of a person. She won't even be affected." And we just
She's relentless.
there you go.
Relentless, Shannon
She is
Lavangi.
yeah, she is
Speaking
relentless.
of,
So,
I know we talked about Jake's injury, Shannon's facial injuries and teeth knocked out, jaw. Check out Shannon Lavangi's Instagram. It's so graphic that the picture got flagged for
mm,
it being sensitive content. It's wild that she was
yeah,
able to get back in the ring and defend
I know. That
the
was
New World of Wrestling Women's Championship last weekend. Go and look at those pictures. They're unreal. So she is
they're,
definitely relentless. Goodness gracious. I couldn't
you
come back
know,
from that.
right. No, and um my I don't want to bury somebody on my podcast right now because I don't know if they'll ever watch this or not. But let's just say that my ex-wife is not a fan of JJ going to wrestling shows on Sundays.
I'll bury her. You should be a
We
fan. Let her go to shows.
let her
I don't
go to
know her.
show.
I'll bury her.
So we we would have seen if we really wanted to go to because that match was so on Friday it was chaotic and it was Shannon Lavangi defending her Shan Optic Championship against Becca. And then we saw her
Superstar
Saturday
Becca.
wrestling somewhere else, I can't remember. And then all of Saturday and Sunday morning, we were so upset that we were wanting to see the rematch of Becca versus Shannon at this other place. And um, you know, that night obviously was horrendous, and I was very that was the first time I've ever been happy that we didn't go to a wrestling show on a Sunday. I was just like, I don't know if my daughter would have. My daughter was there. We there's a Gunnar Moody. I'm not sure if you know Gunnar Moody. He's a current
Name.
LPW tag
Yep.
champion. He's
I'm
been the
familiar with the name.
APW tag champion. He's been super nice to me and my daughter. Wonderful guy. We were there on JJ's birthday in APW when he actually hurt his leg, and she was so upset. She was genuinely upset. She was like trying to leave the building and carry him out and take him in the car and drive him to the hospital. She was very upset. I was going over to
Upsetting.
his mother and his brother, and I was like, "Listen, does this guy need to go to the hospital? Because we'll drive him right now." And the wild thing was it was her birthday and Scotty Slade, right, of all people, comes out right after
Scotty
the
Slade.
injury and
What a
he's like,
throwback name that is.
"Oh,
That's another
I hear there's
CCW
a
name.
I hear there's a birthday party, or hey, there's a birthday here, and it's JJ King. Everybody, let's sing JJ happy birthday." She could give no cares about them singing happy birthday. She's on her phone texting her friends, I think he's gonna die. He just broke his leg or something, blah, 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 blah. And I'm just like, JJ, can you just look up for like 30 seconds? There's a room full of people singing you happy birthday, and you're not even you're totally no selling it right now. And we look like jerks. And she's like, I don't care. I'm texting Gunner. I'm seeing if he's okay. I don't care about. And I was like, okay. So I just stood over and I was like, thank you, everybody. Thank you so much.
She's already big leaguing people, and she's not even in the business yet. I haven't big leagued anybody yet, and I've only been in for about a year and a half now.
There you go.
She's just grown up. She's already big leaguing people. My
She's already
goodness.
big leaguing everybody. It's not good. So if we were there for Shannon, I think it would have been, I don't know, she would have lost her stuff. But um, yeah, we saw those pictures, and it was actually a topic on one of the conversations we were having on our way to the show, and we were just both like in complete disbelief that that's how bad it was. And now it makes sense because we always see Shannon with a mouth guard and stuff, and I was like, okay, yeah, it makes sense. And I take it as a sign because I've been doing wrestling training myself, and a couple of times I was worried about it, and I was like, should I wear a mouth guard? And after seeing those pictures, I have a mouth guard right there. I already bought it. Like, I'm not even gonna BS anybody. I mean, I don't know if I'll do any good with it on, but I'm my brain's like, "Put it on now,"
You no,
Not
you got
good.
to. So one thing in the Cory Von Quest story, which I didn't include, and I did attend wrestling school. I trained under Bobby Ocean for about a little less than a year at the RWA school based out of South Windsor that promptly closed shortly after I started there. And I unfortunately never went back because it closed and I never had the chance. But yeah, you always want to make sure you're protected in training. I had a mouth guard as well in my time there. We're talking 10 plus years ago now at this point. It's past my day. I'm sitting behind the booth. I'm not there to get any action anymore. But I will tell you, wearing a mouth guard is very any guards, protect everything. Uh, use your imagination, folks. Use everything you'd like. I will tell you, I'll leave you that. Just as you would in baseball, protect all of your
Protect
assets.
Protect it all. I know I made sure to get, like, knee pads and elbow pads and all that stuff because after the first round of bruises, I was like, "Alright, I need to get something." I had to ask my coaches, like, "Hey, man, what are the best I should be getting?" And they told me the certain styles and stuff, and I ordered it. Thank you, Amazon, for dropping it off the next day so I could not get those exact same bruises all over again, so
Isn't it wild? I'm here in the New Haven area, and there is an Amazon warehouse close by. You can get something within the hour of ordering it. It's kind of insane. It's again, going back to 10 years ago, the technology where 5 years ago, where it is now, a drone could drop my, mouse cover that I need or a a new
yeah,
keyboard right to my front door now.
yeah.
It's kinda nuts.
It is. I have family that lives in West Phoenix. My mom moved to that same house um almost 30 years ago. And they for a while they were having the drone drop-offs and it was insane to think like I could buy a pencil case and a drone will throw it in the backyard. Like it's just what? What? Like it's just but it and it's funny. I actually did a story this morning, and I posted on Facebook. I haven't got to post it everywhere else, I'll post it. And I had to make sure to like caveat what I said because I realized when I was layering this story, people weren't going to understand where I was coming from because I'm 40 years old. So there was a time where there was no applicable internet. There was no cell phones. There was none of that stuff. And when I was 9 years old, and I'm originally from Lowell, Massachusetts. When I was 9 years old, my stepfather moved us to Phoenix, Arizona, and I felt like I was a billion miles away. I didn't know anything about Phoenix, and there was no internet where you can go check on your friends and family. Like, I just felt like that that I was never gonna see that place again, and I was so disconnected from it. But the story is that there's a Lowell, Arizona, and it was that Lowell, Arizona is actually named after Lowell, Massachusetts, because a guy from Lowell, Massachusetts, moved to Arizona, missed Lowell so much he named it after the city he's from. So I always felt a kinship with that guy because that's how I felt. And then there's the Lowell Observatory in Flagstaff, Arizona. And if anybody ever lives in the Arizona area, there's always commercials for that, right? There's always advertisements. So I always felt kind of a kinship with that because the person who started the Lowell Observatory was a descendant of Francis Cabot Lowell, who started Lowell, Massachusetts. So the funny thing in what I was trying to point out is in the Facebook drop, I had to make sure to point out in there, hey, there was no internet back then, just so you know, like, because I know someone's gonna be like, why are you saying you missed your family? You could have just called them on the phone. No, that would have cost an arm and a leg in 1996 to
Yeah.
call another state in 1996 out of
You might have
state
been called
phone
another
call.
planet then.
That's like that's like $20 a minute or something. Are you insane? You can't do that. Now I could just like, I can't even say the words right now. One of the 42 robots in this
But yeah.
in this room are gonna call grandma or something. Like that's not you know what I mean? So
Yeah, I have at least 4 or 5 devices that's probably record this entire podcast, and the targeted ads that I'll be getting shortly after here is gonna be kind of insane, but it's all part of the process, I guess, at this point, right?
right, exactly. It's part of the world we live in. It's the world we created as they say, right? Well, normally I think of Queen. I think of that song. Is this the world we created? We made it on our own, right?
And that was 20 plus years ago that song was created. If they only knew what we're in today, but that's another podcast for another day.
Yeah, exactly. So, we've talked about so many things, and it's great because that's what we're here for, right? We're here to listen to your story. My question is, you have these multiple places and you're learning so much. Sounds like you're taking everything with a progressive stride, and you have your crew and you have everything going on. Are you looking to scale at any point, any higher than where you're at right now, or change anything? Are you looking to do anything different in the future?
Absolutely. So I hate to keep going back to baseball, but one of the best movies of all time, Moneyball, featuring my boy Brad Pitt, sexiest man alive. I will say it all day. Let me tell you, he has a line in that: adapt or perish. I mean, Billy Bean, I guess, technically said it. So there you go, Moneyball. So adapt or perish. And I've been taking that mentality, not just from the movie, but it's true from my career, from in wrestling and anything that, and this whole podcast and this whole interview, we've been talking about what the technology was just a short amount of time ago and what it is today. And that couldn't be more of the same for my situation too. I started off with a 1080p piece of garbage camera. I got two 4K cameras now working ringside. My hard cam, I'm looking to upgrade as well. Had a little bit of issues at New Order. That was a power situation, not for your guy, but that's one thing. I had a power situation. We had a video situation. I got to adapt to it. I got to make my situation better, and I got to improve any way possible. Whether that's improving my technology, improving my calls, improving whatever else I can. I'm always looking for any sort of feedback. One thing working in learning and development that I have for as long as I have, criticism and constructive criticism and just listening to other people's ideas, other people's wording. You learn so much by just listening, which if you're going to take one thing out of this podcast, kids, that might be it. But so right now, running commentary and video at the same time, it's tough to do things live. And what I mean by that, streaming it live, obviously doing camera cuts. If you ever been backstage of any production, I'm not talking wrestling, any television production, the EP, the executive producer, the director, call them what you want. There's cutting going on. There's different angles, being able to manage it. And each time, would I absolutely love to do that? Yes. Can I do that in commentary at the same time? Most likely not. So I think I'm going to channel my current responsibilities and roles into commentary because that's kind of where my forte is and where I have the most amount of fun and where I'm able to kind of show my personality and my experience. So I want to focus mostly on commentary, but I will always have the option to run video production. So right now, I just where is she? Here. I wanted to set up beforehand. I just didn't have the chance to do it, but I got this awesome pocket camera, shoots in 4K. You'll see that in the New Order Wrestling videos that I'll be having. This thing is a monster. It's beautiful. I would rate DJ Osmo, DJI Osmo. Kevin from BST shouted out for me. He told me to buy it. It's awesome. But that's just an example of, every single show I've added a new piece of technology to try to make not only the show run smoother from me and my production team, but also to make sure that the show and the product I'm putting out is as beautiful and perfect as it can be in the situation, because I want to make sure that my name is on stuff that I'm proud to show, that I'm proud that I'm releasing to the public, that I'm giving to these promotions, these promoters to then promote their product, and to these talent, to these wrestlers, and that they have this video, this commentary, this soundbite to now share on their socials to make them look better, to make them show off their character. And that's kind of my main goal is, do I love doing what I do? Absolutely. But my main priority is never for me. It's for the production and it's for the company and the talent that I'm working for. So whatever I need to do to make that better, I will always be improving it. Whether that's the technology, whether that's finding new wording, learning more about each talent. I make sure to connect with all the talent before each show, whether it's via social media, even in person. Say, any moves you want called a specific way, any finishers, things like that, even before we get into the match itself. Again, a lot of times I don't want to know, I don't want to pull back the curtain too much here. But I never want to know what's going on in a match. I want everything to be as raw and as a surprise as it is for anyone sitting in the front row. And that goes back to what I said. I don't like preparing anything. I don't like scripts. I like everything being in the moment, much like this interview is right now. So thank you for that. So to bookend and to put a period on that question, I will say is, yes, I'm looking to improve my setup, my output every single time. I'm looking to get better, whether that be investing in technology or investing in myself, investing in some Cory Von Quest merchandise. Get yours at Tetsu Pro this upcoming May 30th in Bristol, Connecticut. Uh, but yeah, I'm always trying to add to my production, whatever that case may be. I'm looking to add to it. And I'm always looking for feedback as well, constructive, good or bad, because you're never going to learn if people just keep, grabbing your ass. Can I swear on this? Grabbing your beer end and just saying, "Hey, you did great," shaking your hand, smiling at you. But if you don't get that constructive, good feedback, you're never going to grow from it. Adapt or perish.
Yeah, and I couldn't agree with you more. I mean, personally, I was in the army, so I very well
Thank you for your
understand
service.
and support, constructive criticism. As much as they show all kinds of ridiculous nonsense on TV, actual professional drill instructors, they're not just assholes who say horrible things to you for fun. All right, maybe they were in the 70s or something. I don't know. I wasn't there, but in 2003 when I signed up and I went to the United States Army and I had my, instruction in at Fort Knox, Kentucky, um, those men were genuine professionals who wanted to see me succeed. And my drill sergeant told me several times over that if I did not succeed, it's because he failed to give me the tools necessary to be successful and that he would not let me fail over his dead body. And by God, I did not fail. So, shout out Drill Sergeant Greenlee. Love you, man, for the rest of my goddamn
Greenly.
life. Always love
Love
that
you,
guy.
Greenly.
But yeah, I totally understand where you're coming from with all that because it seems it's way more authentic to just react to what's actually happening, right? I don't want to peel back the curtain, but I've been privy to, JJ and I have been privy to a few times at certain places where we've had, we'll say an angle with that particular company where we've been doing a thing and we were we were in the pre-party that some people may or may not be privy to, so that when things happened during the show, I was like, oh, I actually know what's going to happen next. And it changes your mindset when you really know what's gonna be happening next, and I could see, especially from your particular perspective, why you'd wanna just stay away from that completely. Because it's better to just be, "I'm gonna be surprised," we talked about that table spot. Technically, anybody over a certain variable age should know that a table spot was coming based upon all the things leading up to it at that point, right?
They're just not setting up furniture on a ice skating rink for no reason. I thought they were just putting up new furniture from IKEA.
He was beating him with that table for no, yeah,
That I,
but
could we stop for 1 second? That Daddy Cat comes flying in with that gigantic table that's 4 times the size of him and just bam,
oh my god.
slams it down right in Noriega's face. Was one of the wildest visuals I've seen. That was so good. Daddy Cat, man, Cactus Cat, meow, love that guy.
Right.
But yeah,
Absolutely.
crazy stuff happened. I can't wait. That's the next match. Actually, I'm going through and editing after we're done here, so I'm pretty excited to see that one come
Oh,
through.
it's I'm sure it's gonna come out beautiful. But yeah, that visual of Fly just, like, laying on the ground and then the giant table just coming out of nowhere, just bam, right in the face. Because I was so almost hyper focused on Fly. I was low key waiting for him to do something, and I was like, "Why isn't he moving? Oh, okay, that makes more sense." Bam, right in the face. Um, they set him up, and then there was a certain time where I was just like, "Can somebody move, like, people out of the way? Like, these kids there's kids here, and,
It was a
like,
little.
there's
You want to talk
people."
about street fight? We were out on the streets. There was a lot of people on them streets too. And you know what? This is a great little another discussion of what happens. In my perspective during that. So all of this is going on. You know, both men came through the commentary booth, disrupted our setup a little bit. We were still powering through it because we are me and Dan Demand, the professionals that we are, obviously. But one thing that maybe people don't realize, I ain't so tall. Hate to break it to you. So not only am I behind the crowd, but when the crowd is standing up, I can't see a damn thing. Pretty much from the start of that match until the end of it, I was doing my best to call, just seeing a couple hands getting rid. I saw Fly Knight go through the air. Anything that was outside of that ring, I was calling to the best of my ability because I was just dealing with cleaning up the commentary booth and then trying to figure out what's going on. Dan definitely, he's a lot taller than me, so he could see a little bit more. But we were doing our best for that one. I think we did a damn good job too because it was like you said, there was so many things going on in that street fight, so many people in and around. It was kind of chaotic. But thankfully, let's bookend all of this. Everyone came out fine. There were no injuries. Nothing got broken. No one got hurt. And at the end of the day, that's the most important. So, and Fly Night Noriega defending his street fight championship, of course.
Right.
And
It was
still,
right. And to be fair, by the time this airs, you're probably having stuff out, for sure. And
yes,
me at that point, probably. But yeah, it was kind of crazy that, during the intermission, JJ and I had come over to say hello because you looked like you were at least
my
you were
one minute of clarity during that night.
right. You were like, all right, you look like you were in breathing air for a moment. And we just wanted to say hello. And JJ genuinely dislikes little children running around. Like, even when she was, like, 5 years old, right?
You
She
got a
would
good
sit
one
there
there.
at a party and be like, "Can't these fucking kids sit still? Like, I don't understand what the problem is." And I always had such a proud dad moment going, "Yeah, that's my kid telling these kids to behave themselves." So the fact that there were kids running around and, like, the 3 of us were low key like, "Yeah, stop running near to stop, please don't come over towards all this stuff." Um,
We had some good hands. We had good folks in there to clean it up too, which was good. So shout out to
right.
those people that shall remain nameless right now. Thank you for helping out, cleaning up the streets during that
Right.
street fight, and we'll leave it
But
there.
it was but yeah, it was definitely, I was kinda low key shocked when they literally got right up in my face, and I was like I told her, I said, "Please just sit down on this chair," because we had all of our equipment on or under the chair, and she didn't. So then I had to kind of stand on the chair and then they had to go around me because I didn't want them to mess with the stuff. So people will see this in the edit by the time this comes out, but they go around me and then they go to you. And then when they like destroyed your table, I was just like, I can't believe this right now. I was
I will
like,
say that that destroying of the table, you got your first Cory Von Quest appearance in New Order Wrestling on camera. So be on the lookout for that. Talk
right,
about a
right.
smashing debut.
There you go. Um, yeah, overall, it was a great show.
Yes.
Hopefully I didn't throw too much shade at Skylar. As as the Shannon fan, some other guy, I don't know who he was, but he was on the opposite end of the spectrum, and he was just chanting for Skylar, Skylar, and I kept turning to JJ, and I'm like, "You gonna cheer for Shannon?" And she just wouldn't do it, so I was like, "All right, whatever." And then I was just like, "You're not Shannon. You're not Shannon."
The Iron Woman of professional. We had Relentless versus the Iron Woman in that
Right.
match. That was what a matchup. Skylar Evans, she's been all up here around Connecticut too. Called some of her matches at Tetsu. Awesome, great to see her out in her debut at New Order as well. Troy Stevens made his debut at New Order Wrestling. Pretty popular his last show against Troy Stevens. Jay Tunis made his debut. Josh Guzman, that's my first Josh Guzman match, man. I am immediately a huge fan of his. I even said it on commentary, and if you can back me up and may agree with this, the combination of Speedball, Mike Bailey, and AJ Styles. I know that's a high praise to give, but
That
the
is
movement around, the speed, the velocity this kid was going around with. If you haven't checked out a Josh Guzman match, and again, this is my first one seeing in person, do it, man, because that kid can go. He master of momentum, man. He mastered momentum.
right. And I was kinda low key surprised how many, like, bio pro students were there with Rest of Us going on. So when I walked in and I saw Metro and, Tunis
Barricade.
and, and the guys, Rain, I walked right up to him and I was like, "What do you," and they're like, "Oh, we booked this long before Rest of Us was even a thing, so of course we're gonna show up." And I was like, "All right." So much
Yeah.
respect to you guys for saying that. And then I was very excited for my buddy PJ Moon to make his debut.
Yes.
Uh,
I saw he was at Restivus. I saw him do a
he
post
was
after our show. He made an appearance out at Beyond. I didn't see where it was, but out at Restivus. But yeah, I mean, I'll shout out Restivus too while we're here. And let's talk about that real quick about just the amount of wrestling that's here. I'm in New Haven, so I'm a little bit disconnected from the Massachusetts scene here in there. But the amount of wrestling in a 90-mile radius to where, call it Connecticut. I don't want to call Connecticut the center, but right now where I am, you got, and schools. We have so many schools in the area in Rhode Island, PAPW down here, Test of Strength in East Hartford, Chaotic you were talking about. Brian Fury, I think still does that, correct? I know I was
It is,
Brian Fury I
it
saw
is
back way back in the day. Um,
so it New England Pro Wrestling Academy is ran by, Scott Gearin, Max
okay.
Smashmaster, or Arc to Roost, depending on which flavor you're aiming for,
Yeah, I could have been wrong with it, but I remember
and
Fury was there.
Chase Del Monte, they got it off of, um, they I'm trying to think of
Inherited
when
it?
they yeah, when they became the owners and operators of it, but, Fury, he actually was supposed to have a comeback match this year, but unfortunately, he was injured in training, so hopefully he gets well soon. I know, like, the Logan brothers still help out with things as well, and there's a lot of, like, legacy people, and there's also, there's it's funny because you hit a main bingo card that I normally do every single time on this podcast where I talk about the fact that New Englanders are spoiled and we have so many wrestling
Unbelievably
companies and
spoiled.
so many wrestling shows, like, the rest
And
of
nothing
us.
to do with WWE too, by the way. That's isn't that crazy? You
Exactly.
know, the
Even
wrestling
better.
mecca call it WWE is the biggest wrestling company of all time, and the mecca is in
Period.
Connecticut, but, you know, not even thinking WWE doesn't do anything in Connecticut. Hate to break it to you. That is not a damn thing that events, they do, Raw and SmackDown and things. I'm not talking about it. I'm like community involvement. I've never seen WWE anywhere. And maybe I'm looking in the wrong places, but what I'm trying to get, I'm not trying to throw shade on them. What I'm trying to say is you think of New England wrestling, the last thing I think about is WWE a lot of times because they don't really put on shows in this area. They may be centered here, but there's not a lot of shows. There's wrestling shows every single weekend, weekdays in New England, in Massachusetts, in Connecticut, in Rhode Island, in New York. And I haven't even dabbled in New York. And there's, again, creative pros out there in Long Island. So the amount of just opportunities that wrestlers or wrestling personalities like ourselves have in this just small, New England, you look at a map, New England is so small compared to just Texas. It's crazy.
Yeah,
And we have
no,
all these opportunities and a car's drive away. So if you're an up and comer in any way, start and you are interested, there's so many opportunities. Just shoot an email out.
exactly. It's funny, I bring it up all the time. Massachusetts is just over 10,000 square miles. The city of Phoenix is 18,000 square miles. So the
Isn't that
city of
bananas?
Phoenix is nearly 2 times the size, and it's growing. Massachusetts ain't gonna grow. And there we get, you know, the Bio Pro, right? You got wrestling open on pretty much every Monday. You got every Thursday forever, mostly at the White Eagle. Um, and they have, obviously Beyond Wrestling as well that runs the occasional pay-per-view that which for them it's still called a pay-per-view on independent wrestling TV. Um, at least once a month. And they have, I mean, just coming up this month, June 5th, they have Maxwell Jacob Friedman. Like that, you know what I mean? Like that's
What else is there
completely
to say? If
we
they're getting MJF, I
exactly.
mean,
So Limitless, we went, like I said, JJ and I actually got free tickets to Limitless and we watched that Warzone match, which is kind of like their version of like a war games match. And it had on one side Team Limit, which was the WWE Evolve champion Aaron Rourke, who we love and adore in
he's
this
awesome.
family. Um, of course, it had world class Channing, Thomas, and then it had the alternative Anthony Green and Donovan Dijak,
AG.
right? So AG and Dijak, who are, I mean, two people who are absolutely adored in this family for sure. And then it went up against you had um Agro, you had Daphne DeVille, you had Big Ace Romero, and you had
AC.
Gabby Forza, right? I mean,
Viral
there's
AC Romero. Those pounces, remember those viral pounces? They made ESPN did those. He's a beast.
my God. People when some people say big guys can't move, you just put on that guy.
You
You'll
watching AC. Yeah.
you're watching the wrong guys, all I'm saying, if you think big guys can't move.
Talking, really to pause there for a second on just Beyond, we'll start with them. Look at the names that have come through Beyond. I mean, you just said MJF, obviously. I'm saying, but the names that, 5, even right before the infancy of AEW and the names that have hit Beyond, hit WWE, then hit AEW or and again, this is the opportunities I'm talking about. If you don't make that call or send that email to that school, you're not going to get on one of these, these promotions or one of these companies that then will you get the opportunity to eventually work for a dream company, a bigger company. So you never, I will always say, I think it was like 3 or 4 years ago, I was in the crowd and I saw Brad Baylor, one of his very first matches at the crowd. I was sitting in the back, kind of just observing, and I just saw this kid right off the bat. And like, he's going to be something. He is absolutely going to be something. And little did I know, I was sitting next to his parents in the crowd watching him for the first time. And it was one of the most beautiful things to watch. But then seeing him now, I think he just signed his NXT contract and he has a picture with Shawn Michaels. And 3, 4 years ago, we were in the Bethany Town Hall and I was commenting, and he was just starting out. I mean, maybe it's a little longer than that, but you know, it's such a beautiful thing to see.
Right.
Um, and it all starts at independent wrestling shows. And that's kind of where I went, to full circle what I spoke about earlier. That's why I'm having so much fun working here than working for a bigger company, is to just see the passion in all of these men and women and seeing the passion in the crowd. We pack that mask on. That's one of the biggest crowds I've been a part of for New Order Wrestling. And it was loud. That building was huge. Like, it echoes. That was a very large building. And that, just listening to the crowd and in person, now hearing it back, that was a loud crowd from start to finish. If you can get the attention on a Saturday night of kids and families for 2.5 hours and still stay engaged, every match people are engaged in, the street fight, obviously everyone was engaged in the main event. It's just such a beautiful thing to witness. And that's what goes back to, how we just started this, watching these men and women putting it all on the line. Daddy Cat and Fly Night, going through tables on hardwood floors, what is not like to like about that? Just beautiful things to watch, and watching everyone kind of live in the moment as we all are, as fans, as commentators, as parents, as kids. Your daughter is, I mean, if she's not built for this industry already, I mean, come on. She has all these schools now in the in the area too, right? So it's just such a beautiful thing to watch, to see people, take that next step in whatever their career path in wrestling, outside of wrestling, in their life to be. And can get it right from a Saturday night in a training center or in a town hall for 10, $15, 25 if you sit front row. But it is such a beautiful thing
It
to
is.
see in certain times. And let's be clear and transparent. Not all wrestling's beautiful. Not all situations are ideal. There are a lot of problems. But you know what? In my year and a half or so that I've been this, I haven't seen any of them. I haven't been a part of them. I don't want to be a part of any of them. I want to do my job. I want to make sure everyone has a good time and a safe time. And I make sure that everyone is given the same amount of attention and love in my commentary and my calls and my production than the next person. Because who knows who that next person will be and where that next person will go. Will they be on NXT in a couple weeks? Will they be on Dynamite in a few months? Who knows? Who knows where we'll all be in a month? You don't. So you got to live for right now and do your best in your situation right now. If you're gonna, hey, there's a soundbite for you.
I absolutely agree with you. And, you know, my daughter and Aaron Rourke is actually, and I try to shout that man out anytime I can just because he's been very inspirational to my daughter, especially. So seeing him at Rad Pro last year, he actually posed, he got into the ring and posed the picture. He noticed that had an actual camera. So she was holding my camera. So he posed for her, and when she took the picture, I'll never forget it. I came back and I was like, "Did you get the shot?" And she's like, "I want to be a wrestling photographer." And that she had just turned
Talk
13,
Nate for you.
and she literally just knew in that moment with that thing that that's what she wanted to do. So she actually, New England Pro Wrestling Academy has a fantasy camp for kids on July 19th, and we already signed up for that,
I
and we
say if she
talked
hasn't
to
signed up, I bet she will be by the end of this interview.
she yeah, we signed up as soon as we knew, to be fair. And then we talked to Scott Gearin, essentially when she turns 16, she's going to join Nepwa. So it's not like sh- it's incredible to know that my daughter has a lot of support as well. And that's why I have to show love and, appreciation to the wrestling community at large, and especially New England, because I know there's politics and stuff everywhere. I don't maybe I'm just fortunate enough that I don't get to see it, but I really do see a lot of people playing well with others. You know what I mean? There's so many different wrestlers. Shannon Levangie might have trained at Nepal, but I see her at the Open all the time. The B-dubs, I've seen, they train at Nepal, but they're at the Open all the time. There's Wrestling Open kids that were at NLW. There's people test to strength. There's that are go to this show or that show. We share, right? We as a New England wrestling uh community, really, we share well with each other, and we actually like make sure that we're not throwing shade or trying to burn each other down. I never hear like one promoter say, "Oh, well, I hate the other promoter and I want him to be unsuccessful." We understand that there's one community pool, and if you piss in that pool, you're pissing on everyone, including yourself. It's point blank, right? It doesn't matter. And I've talked to a few promoters from different places, and they're like, "Hey, I'm going to work with what I can get, and I'm not going to fucking get upset." All right. So I genuinely have to show love and appreciation to people like Aaron Rourke, or Gabby Forza and Bear Bronson, or Mike
They are
Grassa and
incredible,
Katie.
those 2.
Right.
Gordon
Mike
Bronson, man,
Grassa,
incredible people.
incredible human beings. They've always been so courteous and kind. When we went to Focus Pro, Gabby Forza had a street fight, or a relaxed rules match with JB Anderson, and my JJ was kind of like hiding in the corner because it's JB Anderson. It's going to get a little wild. And sure enough, they brought out the tube lights and stuff, and they're smashing it over each other's heads and whatever else. So she's hiding in the back, and she sends me a Snapchat saying, "I'm babysitting Bear Bronson's pizza," and I was like, "What?
That's precious
What?"
cargo.
Precious cargo. She was like, "This is the greatest honor of my life." Bear asked me to watch his pizza. He put his pizza down and he went to the back to go do something. He's gonna come back. She sent me this video. You would have thought she was over the moon. And um we saw Bear and Gabby. They were two of the last talents at Limitless. This Whenever the last time we saw them, 2 weeks ago. And JJ was telling Bear the story about how excited she was to like babysit his pizza for him. And she also told him how she denied someone else because someone else tried to give her pizza. And she's like, "I'm a kid. I don't know who you are. I'm not taking pizza from you."
Smart
And
one there, buddy.
yeah. And Bear Bronson had such like a proud dad look on his face. And he looked at her and he said, "I picked the right child to babysit my pizza. Thank you. Thank you so much." And like and she just was over the moon, right? Over the moon with that. There's so many different. I could literally sit here for like an hour and just name all the different people and different wonderful things they've done for my kids. So I just want to say thank you to all of you. And if I haven't said it then, I'll probably say it in another podcast. But
I would say thank you to anyone that puts the time or goes out of the way to even a second to talk to a young kid or someone in need. I mean, just on Saturday, I was able to interact with folks. As a commentator, I don't get a lot of attention. That's nothing wrong with that. I'm not saying that, but to have people come over and just say hi to me, of course, I'm going to give you a sticker or something, or leave you with some sort of interaction that is positive. And that's what I want to make sure I try to leave on not just fans, not just talent. The Cory Von Quest name itself, I wanna make sure to bring at least some sort of happiness or joy because, hell, we need it right now more than ever. So whether that's,
right?
you know, giving out some free merch or whatever the case, hopefully you guys loved your Cory Von Quest stickers. You can find David
Yeah,
Tattoo Pro this
yeah,
upcoming May 30th. So, but yeah, it's really cool to obviously hear these stories because I don't have a little one of my own, but having someone growing up and seeing and watching it from a second hand and just hearing your stories about it, it shows you how, first of all, of a good dad you are showing her the right wrestling, number one, but also obviously showing that she has a good mind. So that's very exciting. I'm looking forward to meeting you guys hopefully at or wherever our next show. I know you said you'll be up and around somewhere where we'll be. Oh, Jake Gray, July 4th. We'll see each other hopefully. So, um,
yeah. And I appreciate that, man. It's shout out to Julie Cutler. Um, I saw her at WrestleCon in Las Vegas this past month or so. It seems like a year ago, to be fair, but it was just not too long ago. And I got to spend a wonderful amount of time with Simon Miller and Adam Wilborn and all the rest of the guys of the What Culture. And then I got to have a nice couple of days talking with Zilla Fatu and his mom, and
Mm.
I got to do so many wonderful things that I never thought in a billion years I would do. But I talked to Julie about, the whole idea of my daughter wanting to be in the business, and we had a wonderful conversation about it. And then this past Saturday, when I had after this the other show that we went to, Rebel
Yeah, you guys had
Spirit.
a hell of a schedule that Saturday. I was ready for bed the minute I left that show. You guys were in for
Yeah,
round 2 by the time was it
right.
back in New Haven.
Yeah, no, we drove an hour and a half to Marlboro so we could see the next one. And after that show, Julie was wonderful enough to tell my daughter how much she knew I loved her, and it meant the world to me. So anytime someone says anything like that or says anything nice about my daughter, it genuinely means the world to me. I oof, all right,
I'll give
just
you a moment. I'll give you a moment. So,
breathe it in here. I'll make a joke. We kept talking about balls, money balls. Here we go. We got a ball, but the only ball I have is a Benny. How
but
about that?
Benny,
Ooh, Benny, you need some money,
Benny the
bro? Good for you.
basketball. I gotta tell
Money
you,
ball. Here
Jermaine
we go.
Marbury and Benny,
Money ball.
absolute.
Woo.
They are so good. If you haven't ever checked out Jermaine Marbury and his faithful companion Benny, please do so. One of my favorite guys right now. Such a
Absolutely.
I have a very silly Instagram reel of Jermaine, so check out my Instagram for that.
Go
I,
Jermaine.
yeah,
Go
by the
Jermaine.
way,
Go.
I gotta do some self promotion here. I do all my work on Instagram. I'm trying to focus all my work on Instagram. I just had added a Cory Von Quest Facebook page. I'm gonna let that settle a little bit. But yeah, all my stuff, find it on Instagram, Cory Von Quest, right there. I have a background in again video editing, so a lot of my stuff is a little bit out there. But hey, it's for me. Yeah, check that out. I put a lot of silly edits, either from wrestling or even from video games or just my everyday life. I'll throw on there. So that's where the best way to find some of my work too.
Absolutely, man. That's what we're here. We are here to hype it up. You plug everything. Plug it. I tell that people
King
all the time.
plugs.
Just
I
plug
got to get that on the next shirt.
plug all
But
day. Yeah. It's funny you mentioned that the whole power thing. I literally have I don't see it here. I would have picked it up. It's a battery that's basically the size of like a car battery that I will, depending on what I'm going to, I will bring so we can have power. Um, because you just never know, right? I granted people might be like, oh well, can't you bring some of those little things? Like, yeah, I bring the little chargers. I have ones that plug
yeah,
straight into the
batteries.
phone and all day. I have all kinds of batteries. But if I'm having a long day and I know I'm going from place to place and I need power, I will literally bring a battery this big. I have to plug it into the wall for like 12 hours to get full juice. It's something that's really made for camping, right? Or
Yeah, get one of them
glamping, if
generators for
anything.
a hurricane or something.
Right. It's genuinely made for stuff like that. And they have some that are even bigger that is genuinely supposed to be a generator for that type of stuff. I haven't gotten that far, but if I was you, maybe if I had the setup you had, maybe I would have a giant
Fingers crossed. I
electronic
haven't had
generator.
any crazy power issues yet. But yes, I have some backup. You're right. I do have it just in case, though. Hey, this outdoor show coming up in July 4th. We'll have to see what that is. So maybe we'll get that generator going for that. But yeah, I'm excited for this whole summer. I got a show a week or every 2 weeks between now and October. I got something going on in wrestling. Like I said, we got Tetsu coming up here at the end of the month. We got Pure Vanguard Pro based out of Bristol. They're also coming up at the start of June. Then we got BST, Blood, Sweat, and Tears Wrestling. Check out one of their shows if you haven't. Those guys put on an incredible show. Kevin, Harry, that whole gang there. Great group of guys and gals. What else do I got going up? I think those are the next 3. Then in the summer, we'll see Tetsu has a sister company, we'll call it Cosplay Championship Wrestling. They actually attend ConnectiCon every year. We do some cosplay wrestling. Sounds a little silly, but please check it out. It's pretty neat. So
I
hopefully
think
we'll
they
come to that
follow
this
me on
summer as well.
Instagram.
Yes, they're on Insta. So
Yeah. There's actually a couple of companies that I haven't quite been to yet, but they follow me on Instagram anyways. And
that's a good thing.
this there's kind of a Sunday ban on wrestling, but fortunately the summer is approaching soon. So once the summer approaches, there will be no Monday school. So JJ and I can go to Sunday wrestling, and because there's places like, we would have missed Green Mountain this past Sunday, which would have had, our buddy Johnny Pierce versus Carlito. I would have loved to see Johnny Pierce again, but it's a Sunday and, people always ask me, "Can't you just go without your daughter?" I mean, I could, but do I want to? I just it
I
feels
hear you on
weird,
that. A
right?
Sunday's a good off day. Yesterday, I had every opportunity to work on all the footage I did. I sat my fat ass on that recliner all day and went outside for a walk, and that was about it. Didn't even think about wrestling yesterday. I always gotta get that's one thing, I absolutely love professional wrestling. I absolutely love baseball, but I can't do it every single day. Like, so you just gotta take a day every once in a while. I know I put it up on the old IG a side quest yesterday. Went for a little beach walk. So yeah, one thing, don't ever, and that just goes in general for any work, don't burn yourself out from what you don't want to burn yourself out from the stuff you love. So, do I want to absolutely live and die every single day wrestling? Who wouldn't want to? But got to give yourself some time here and there to just sit back, relax, chill, as Pretty Poppy and Hippie Dicky Moon might say in a different universe. But yeah, I you gotta do what you can. What wrestling's like we've been talking about, 7 days a week, you can find
Yeah, it's
something going on. It's good that
literally.
you get a break every once in a while, but man, once the summer hits and those weekends start coming high and fine and flying, we got a lot going on.
Yeah, and it's funny too because if you're ever on independent wrestling TV watching something, you will get a pop-up every 38 seconds. "There's a new thing live. Do you wanna watch that instead?" "No, I'm already watching something. Please leave me
Yep,
alone," right? Um,
crazy.
my thing yesterday was, I had one of my shoot jobs, you could say, but I also am a, like, business developer and, video producer for a bar in Nashua, New Hampshire. And we have a very exciting project coming very soon. May 30th is the opening day for the Nashua Silver Knights baseball team versus
Love
the
baseball.
Lowell Spinners, the returning Lowell Spinners to play the baseball. And we at as the Root Awakening Kava Bar are going to be sampling on that night. And yesterday was really just kind of doing some more video work. I need to actually finish a video that I'm supposed to be working on to put out some basically promotional videos to explain the entire complexity of the partnership that we have with the baseball organization. So it was kind of funny for me for you to be like, "Oh, we'll take a break from wrestling to," and I was like, "Yeah, but I was doing baseball because that's my other
Yeah.
job now." So
See, I'm such a baseball sicko. That would be a break for me too, though, too. So deep, I'm a big analytics guy, so I dig deep into the numbers. It's kind of disgusting and sad, but no,
well,
and you get me going on baseball. We'll be here all damn day. I
right.
support the Pirates. I support the Yankees. I support as long as baseball's fun, I support it, except for the Astros. I absolutely hate the Astros. They're a bunch of cheaters that never got punished. I'll say it right here. I'll be loud and proud. Astros do not deserve to be World Series champions. Take the MVP away from Jose Altuve, that dirty wire-wearing cheater. I'm calling you out,
There you
Jose
go.
Altuve.
Boom in
But,
your
yeah,
man. No, I mean
I
that's
respect it. I grew up as a Yankees fan, but I absolutely love Fenway Park. I love Boston. The Red Sox, the word love maybe isn't quite there yet, but I definitely respect the things that have happened over at those green walls. Those City Connect green monster jerseys, by the way, mwah, chef's kiss.
yeah. Oh, man. I feel like there's certainly, especially over the last like 15 years, the Red Sox Yankees rivalry isn't the same it was when I was a kid. You could get beat up for that stuff. I actually,
Kareem Garcia jumping into the Fenway Park bullpen during I think it was the DS or the CS, and that was the same series that Pedro threw above his head. Oh my God,
yeah,
Don Zimmer, that old fat oily old man. I love, by the way, R.I.P. Zimmer. The guy was great. Getting tossed, getting
gonna
what,
go,
grabbed him by the head. A little great Kali, whatever he called that move, and then just bam throws old 9,000-year-old Don Zimmer to the ground. One of the greatest visuals. If you're not a baseball person, please look up Don Zimmer gets thrown to the ground by Pedro Martinez. One of the funniest clips you'll ever see. Don Zimmer was fine after the throw, thank God. He was very old then, but goodness gracious, one of the funniest clips you'll ever see.
yeah, gonna knock you down like Don Zimmer, right?
Yeah. And Zimmer
SNL.
comes in hot. Like this dude, you're talking Zimmer's like 80 at this point. He's got to be like 250 going pounds, and he is just trucking, going right towards Pedro. Pedro's like, bang, get the fuck out
Oh
of here.
man,
It's so
that
funny. But yeah, everyone was good. But yeah, those rivalries back in the day, like Clemens. No. Oh, Clemens threw the bat at Piazza. That's what I was thinking of. But
Mhm.
again, we talk baseball. We're going to hear it for another 2 hours. We're here for
Yeah.
wrestling. We'll
Yeah,
focus
yeah,
on
yeah,
wrestling. We'll
yeah,
do a
yeah.
baseball
No, I
podcast
mean,
another day.
it well, and that's one thing that I feel like almost was kind of a warm up because, you know, JJ and I used to go to like Sea Dogs games. Her first real baseball games were Portland Sea Dogs games. As a veteran, I am fortunate enough, and I always thank the community at large. The civilians take better care of us than the government ever probably
Oh my God.
will. And I got a shout out to organizations like the Portland Sea Dogs or the Manchester Fisher Cats. They're always giving away free
Hartford
tickets.
Yard Goats.
The Yard Goats, they're always giving away free tickets to us veterans, and I love and appreciate you guys. We went to so many of Fisher Cats games when I used to live in Manchester, years and years ago, and Sea Dogs games. Her first real baseball games were Sea Dogs games. Um, we went to a bunch of Silver Knights games when I used to live in Nashua years and years ago as well, because they were like $8 an whatever. Way back in the day, I'd bring into some Spinners games because I'm from Lowell, obviously, so that's kind of a thing you do. When that was still single A, now it's FCBL. But we went to so many indie, we went to so many minor league, professional games, and it was just, I feel like it's more, I put it in the same way of like the indie scene. Like it's more intimate and it's better and you can feel the love from the organization coming back at you. And I would rather go to a Silver Knights game with 150 people than go to Fenway and not feel like anybody gave a shit that I was there in the first place, quite frankly. And it's no different with like the WWE. I've been to WrestleMania the last 3 years, which is great and wonderful. It's
Been to
crazy.
5, so I hear you.
So, but there are times where I appreciate a night at Focus Pro more. I'm just gonna be honest. You know what I mean? There's just like there's or insert indie show here. Okay, there's so many freaking indie shows going on all the time. There have been, I went to the Vacation Land Cup last year, and it was a pretty good size. I think it was in Lewiston, Maine. A pretty good sized. I can't remember the name of the venue. Probably 5,000 people or whatever it was, but that felt I don't it just felt so good to be in a room full of, wrestling fans that were almost more like a community of friends than strangers, right? So,
Yeah, and you bring up a couple incredible transitions I would like to make here too. But I want to go back to the WrestleMania thing for a second, real quick. So I myself, I went to 29, 30, 31, 32. So I went to 4 in a row. And I would say that might have been even the golden era, right? As before this whole 2 night WrestleMania came in. And then because at 29, 30, 31, I got to see Undertaker's streak get broken at the Superdome or the Silver Dome if you're Hulk Hogan opening up the show. Watch that clip back. Uh, and then I got to see Seth Rollins cash in Money in the Bank live in person. And if you go back and look at I think 32, there's a couple clips you might see a familiar face there near the front row, but I'll let you guys watch that on YouTube yourself. But you bring up a crazy point that these shows, the Superdome show in New Orleans, I've never heard noise quite like that before, not just in wrestling, but in general, because of the way the arena is, the sound goes up and just comes right back down. So it could be deafening, like when Daniel Bryan wins the title, one of the loudest, most insane moments I've been in a crowd for. But then when that 3 count hit and Brock Lesnar beat the Undertaker streak was the most deafening silence with 75,000 people around you. I've never experienced anything like it was like life changing. Say one thing, fandom, what do you have, but just that moment and the environment of everyone saying, what the fuck just happened? Because that's exactly what it was like. Everyone was like looking around. That infamous shot of that guy in the front row with his mouth agape. That's basically what we all were. But that's a different type of emotion that you garner from an arena like that versus a 100, 200, 300, 5,000 seat arena because you do feel more connected with it. You do feel more ingrained with the show and you can have those interactions with people. When you're at a bigger production like it is, whether it's WrestleMania, whether it's All In, so on, so be it. I feel like you can see those moments, but being connected to them is a little bit different than when you're at a smaller arena. Um, and I do want to make one more other little connection real quick. We were talking about collectibles. before, and you're talking about baseball, with the Indians and the Yard Goats, the Sea Dogs, and this. I might have to get off camera for a second, but I have a very silly piece of memorabilia. Cave is full quite of a lot of memorabilia here, but I don't know how we can pick this up right here on camera. But this is a very young Cory Von Quest with a very young Stone Cold Steve Austin. And if you can't see it, Stone Cold holding a baseball that my father had him sign. For what reason, I have no idea. But I ended up getting this great Raw magazine signed by the one and only Stone Cold. So that's one of my favorite pieces I have.
Man,
But that baseball is, I don't know where it is. My father did it with it. He might have sold it. But I always look at that picture like, Dad, what the hell did you bring a baseball to have Stone Cold Steve Austin for? It's like the only thing I had at the time. So I wish I still had that baseball, but it does exist somewhere. So if someone on eBay or anywhere finds a baseball that is signed by Stone Cold Steve Austin, there it is right there. So it just made me laugh because you said the connection there, and it just reminded me, I'm like, oh, I have this really dumb piece of memorabilia that I have. But yeah, I have a lot of. If we're gonna get into collectibles, we can go on that in a little bit. But yeah, it's it's just different. And I didn't want to lose that because that was on top of my mind, that baseball. But yeah, it's just different being a part of a crowd that's 70,000, 80,000, whatever they inflate their numbers for, excuse me, versus the 3 or 4,000 seat arena or the 2 or 300 people. And hell, I've been at shows as a fan or as a commentator where we've had a little less than 100 people. To me, it doesn't make a goddamn difference. You should be giving it all in case, and I know everyone says this. Every single person, every wrestler, every commentator, every manager, every you should be putting on the same performance if there's one person or 1,000 people. Well, yeah, no shit. You should have known that before coming in. If you don't do that, you shouldn't be doing what you're doing, in my personal opinion. If you are going out to entertain someone, whether that's in a sport, whether that's in wrestling, it doesn't matter how many people are in front of you. I've been on the stage in bands before in front of nobody, or I opened for Newfound Glory twice. Shout, great band, love Newfound Glory. Jordan's awesome. It shouldn't make a difference how many people are in front of you, or right now it's just me and you. I don't know how, for the 3 people that watch this, probably I'm giving you all I can of all the information I have and trying to make it as entertaining as possible. And I could care less how many people watch it. And that should be the mentality of anyone going in, that you should never really worry about what other people think of you when you're in the moment. At the end of the day, yeah, the social media comments, the this and that's going to come through. Social media is not a real place. It's not. I can't grab it. I can't grab it. I'm not grabbing it. It's not real. So what you should be focused on is what's right in front of you right at that moment, regardless if there's 14 people there, 4 people, 14,000. And I'll say that till the end. And have I ever been in those larger situations? Absolutely not. And it's probably a lot different. I could be speaking out of turn there, but it shouldn't matter. You should be putting the same performance on, no matter how big your audience is. But I'll get off my soapbox.
get off the soapbox. No, I mean, I couldn't agree with you more. And you I feel like I've heard some of the best examples of that from like Eddie Guerrero, where it's like they went and they were one day they're here and they're at a giant arena with 25,000 people. The next day stuff goes bad and they're at a house show with 25 people. And it's like, if you
ECW
can't
Eddie
do it in front
Guerrero.
of 25 people, who are you going to do it in front of? Right? You got to be able to go. Doesn't matter. The show must go on, my friends. It
Right?
always must go on. So,
Absolutely.
and you got to give it everything you have because you just never know. Because, I mean, uh, all it takes really is one bad review, either, right? All it takes is,
It's all coming from an industry where, customer service was key. And that's one thing I used to train people. You get 10 comments, 8 or 9 of them are going to be negative. I'm gonna I'm gonna go back to my learning development days. I would always use baseball as an example. Baseball is a failure sport. What is the Hall of Famers, your Ted Williams, your should be Hall of Famers, Barry Bonds, your Derek Jeters? 300 means you're failing 7 times out of 10.
yeah,
Could you, and that's why baseball and wrestling, I would say, is the very same. You're going to fail in wrestling way more than you're going to succeed. I can say that an example in just the time I've been in. But, it's not, you should never be let down. Failure is just part of any game in general. But, you have to learn how to take your L's. And there's going to be people that make sure those L's are much more important or much more loud, whether that's being social media comments or Google reviews or things like that. You will always see the negative comments, and will be paragraphs versus the good comments, Nice job. Great work. You're swell. You know, the good comments are usually the two-worders or was great. And then the bad comments are always the novels because people have to get off their chest. I get it. You know, who doesn't want to vent? I get it. But remember, it's not real. Not a real place. If they say it to you in person, that's a whole other discussion. But things you see comments online, reviews, but it could bury you. And I'm not saying burying it could bury a business. You know, if you get one negative review and then it starts water falling from there. That's why we live a very interesting day and age.
Yeah, you're not wrong, and I've used baseball myself, especially in the idea where I say, "I can't cover left field from first base. I'm
Hmm.
only human."
Well, you can if
And
you're Bobby Witt Jr., but that's again, we're gonna get too far in the weeds in baseball here.
But that was always my way of trying to tell a boss that he's asked me to do way too much. Way too much. I'm not covering left field from first base. You pick a position and I'll play that position. I'll play utility all day, but you pick one position and that's where I'm staying. So,
I
um,
prided myself as a utility player in college, I will say. So,
there you go. There you
man,
go.
a man of many trades. Primarily second base, I will say, but I'm a contact hitter, more of a hitter's guy, even for a short guy. I had some. Don't like to compare myself to Altuve, but I got some pop about the size of Altuve. But
Center field myself. I just like to be able to
oh,
sprint.
speed,
Like,
yes.
it was mostly waiting for the sprint. That's what it felt like to me, at least when
Well,
I
if
played.
anyone's looking for a great hitter for their slow pitch softball league, Cory Von Quest, that guy's the best. Still, it's summertime. Looking for a hitter, your boy's here. But
There you go.
let's get back to wrestling. Let's get back. We're here for wrestling.
Back to
We're here for
wrestling.
wrestling. As much as I love
Back
to
to
be here for
wrestling.
baseball, we'd be here for another 2.5 hours. But yeah, let's talk some more wrestling. I don't know. What else we want to chat about?
Well, I could definitely say that, you're hitting stuff on the head, and it goes with wrestling as well, because perfectionism is a disease, right? And I tell this to my daughter all the time because maybe she'll take a picture and it won't be the best. And like, that's why you just take 700 more pictures and we'll figure it out, right? Perfectionism is a disease, and you can't allow that disease to own who you are, or it will define you. It will become your only defining characteristic. And then what are you going to produce? Garbage, right? You need to be able to take those goods with the bad. You got to be able to take that constructive criticism. And you brought up something honestly that it's something that I've actually been trying to bring up to some of the younger kids in the wrestling world, especially when I go to wrestling school. And it's something that you'd be able to hit on the head pretty well. Financial literacy, because I don't know what your feelings are on the book Rich Dad Poor Dad, right? Have you ever read that book?
I haven't, but I am familiar with it.
So I've just and maybe it's just because of the fact that I've been a father for 24 years, right? So when I see younger wrestlers, I mean, Shannon's 24. She just turned 24 not too recently. And she's technically younger than my oldest child by a couple of months. So when I talk to people, that are budgeting wrestlers in this world, try to make sure they realize that, you know, at least roughly speaking, the estimates are like 80% of people who go pro in any various sport goes broke after that sport's over. Because I try to make sure they understand that you have to make hay while the sun shines, my friends, and you should be more conscientiously aware that nothing lasts forever in any business, especially in ours. So, with someone with your particular background, I would ask, have you do you agree with my assessment? Or maybe I'm just, pulling stuff out of my ass here, but what do you think?
You and I could probably host a weekly thing, the thing we king transitions, let me tell you, because one thing I've been thinking about, and I haven't really actually brought it up yet to any of my promoters, but you know what? This is a perfect time to do it. So I'll take off the wrestling hat for a second. Here it is. By the way, I am loud and proud. I love to be bald. So I've been shaving my head since I've 18 years old. So you know what? We're going to take the hat off for a little bit. Um, I've been working in the financial industry. I worked in for my we'll call it shoot job. I worked for a credit union for about 8 or 9 years, and I'm currently working in a mortgage company. And I've been doing that for over a decade. I've been in learning and development, teaching people not only how to use the systems of said banking and mortgage companies, but more importantly, financial literacy, so they can then teach their customers, their people that they interact with. So, what I've been thinking about over the last few months is offering that as well for the wrestling folks because I myself, I'm just under 40 years old myself. Call it what you want. I'm an old man, or I still feel like I'm young at heart. But what I'm getting at is, I left WWE right out of college. You know, I would call it 21, 22 years old, whatever the case was being, living at home, living with ma, as anyone probably would be struggling there, couldn't afford to drive to Stanford, right? I'm now 39 years old. I own my own house. I rent it out as a business. I am now doing this, and I was able to do that all myself. Didn't take out any loans, paid off my student loans, did everything I could. And you know what? Was that because I did not take the job with WWE, or I should say I didn't should take the job. Did I leave? It could be. Could I have made more money there if I stayed? Yes, but at the time, I just wasn't financially made sense for me. And at the end of the day, I needed to eat, I needed to live. So these last 10 years, I've built my education up, I've built my knowledge base up, and I've also built my financial literacy up. And I would say, when I went to school, I graduated college in 2011, graduated high school in 2006. I can't remember one single financial literacy class that taught me how to use a checking account or taught me what a CD is or what a savings account is. Like, obviously basic stuff that you could learn from a parent or anything, but going back in the education standpoint, I don't remember ever learning it once. Now, I was a bad student, so I maybe there was, I just didn't pay attention that day. My One of my main goals when I worked at the credit union here in Connecticut is I'd go out to a lot of these areas that may have been underutilized or undereducated in regards to financial education. So I'd go to our branches and I'd host financial education seminars. And it's not rocket science. I'd tell them what a checking account is, what a savings account is, what are best ways to, keep a track on your budgets. And I want to do that now and kind of bring this to the wrestling industry at some point and someday. I don't know. I don't have a kind of game plan on it quite yet, but even just a seminar before a show with some of the talent, some of the wrestlers, just show them, hey, this is how you make a budget. This is how you manage your checking account. This is what you shouldn't do with a checking account. This is what you should do with a savings account. This is where you should have your money liquid. Things like that. I know I'm going a little bit. I love to talk, by the way. I couldn't tell. I do commentary. Hey, go figure. But yeah, I I'd like to think I know my way around a banking account and a financial literacy here and there. So if there are any promotions or any talent looking for some financial, I'm not a financial advisor. So I got to say that right off the bat. I am not a licensed financial advisor. I can't give you tax information, but I will tell you what the hell a checking account is, what a savings account is, and some good ways to budget your money. That's what I can tell you, high level. So, and I don't have any sort of company. I don't represent any sort of financial industry. I'm just a guy that worked for a credit union for 10 years that knows a couple things. So, yeah, if anyone ever needs any sort of help or discussion with that, I'm more than happy to answer questions. Like I said, I'd like to bring this to promotions that I work for, maybe do seminars before the show's going. We'll talk. Nick Mitchell, Ref Nick Mitchell, I'm looking at you. Uh, so something that maybe in the future, but yeah, man, finance is just as important as anything else because you got to eat, you got to live somewhere, you got to pay rent. And this is not a podcast to talk about current events, but man, if that sentence about finances are important here on May 18th, 2026, ain't more of a important conversation to have. So, yeah, that's my last 10 years of not being in wrestling has definitely given me a lot of tools to succeed and a lot of education points and a lot of experience, more importantly, the what's to do and what not to do to just live and at least be somewhat successful in it. Again, I own a property that I rent out now. I think for a 39-year-old, that's pretty damn good and I've had this now property for over 10 years. Do the math. Again, I'm not trying to sing my own praises here. I know it sounded like a little bit, but
Good.
I'm just telling you what I've done and how I've lived my life has been at least somewhat successful.
This is the hype podcast. We are here to hype you up, man. And you did that. I am gonna fucking hype you up all day. You made it happen in one of the worst goddamn economies we've
In
seen.
Connecticut, may I add, I haven't left this
Right?
godforsaken state.
So, and I have been wanting to, what exactly you just said is exactly what I've been thinking of for the past year. Like I had a conversation with Lauren St. James. Okay. And
Bionic woman,
the bionic woman,
Lawrence St.
the
John
titanium
James.
woman, we talked about the idea of like what do you want to bring to the table for the wrestling industry? And I sat there and I actually made a whole list. It's around here somewhere. I know it's saved on the computer as well, but I printed it, guys. I
You
understand that
just
it's
made the
fun.
list?
No, it's on the list. Okay,
You
so
just made the
Christian,
list.
Chris made a list.
I have a list of Jericho somewhere in this house, but
Right.
not in
So,
hands where.
and on there, the idea was to, and once again, this, and I'm not a finance guru in any sense of the term, okay? But the idea of just making people conscientiously aware of long-term stuff. I mean, even someone like Kevin Nash, right? Who's can be super controversial to bring up in the world of professional wrestling. He
I've never
himself
heard
is
of it.
like the first thing he
Recently
did when
too.
he, yeah, right. The first thing he did when he got money was just buy a house outright so that no matter what happened after that, he at least he had somewhere to go. And that, there's been so many people that have talked about that, and I've got the tidbits, and being the older guy, and my daughter on a regular basis will say stuff like, "Why doesn't my school teach me anything that I'll actually be able to use in my real life once school's over?" And I say, "Listen, we can go down a long rabbit hole in that one, my friend. Let's take a step." And
Yeah, that's
we
again,
have
we that's a whole nother podcast for a whole
it's a
nother
whole
audience,
nother
baby.
podcast role. The answer to that question will be a 7-hour seminar, guys.
Yes.
But let me
Come
explain.
join my TED Talk.
Come from exactly. But I have genuinely wanted to create some kind of maybe 30-minute, 45-minute course explaining to these younger people because I see someone like Ricky Smokes who just went off to Florida to start his budgeting career at NXT. And, I don't want something to happen to that guy. I love that guy. He's a great guy, right? He's a great
Him
guy.
and Baylor are my absolute 2 favorite up and comers for the last 5 or 6 years. The minute I saw both, I'm like, "These 2 kids, man." Smokes, I haven't
Exactly.
seen much of, but he tagged with Baylor once I saw a show, and I'm like, "These 2,
Right,
man."
right. Which I think is
I
funny.
gotta while on the subject of Brad Baylor, I gotta bring this up. I'm sorry, I have to actually bring this up because when I was watching him coming up as a fan, and I say at coming up as a fan, we're talking like 2 years ago, not even. I don't know if you were familiar with his moment. There was a storyline where he brought his stepmom and I popped so fucking hard because no one and now you got Mama Wayne on AEW coming out doing the stepmom gimmick almost, but, like, it was the most innovative I'd never seen it before, maybe it was done in wrestling before, but he came out with the whole stepmom gimmick, and lost my mind. It was so funny. He pulled it they go back if you can find any footage of Brad Baylor and his stepmom. Goodness gracious, it's so good.
Feel like we got
That's
we
good
got
shit.
we got two halves of the same coin because I've been watching so much Ricky Smokes. My daughter loves to say how Ricky Smokes used to babysit her stuffed animals at shows. Um, and the step I think of a mom. Well, I do think of like let's say Shelton Benjamin had his mom on TV for a
That's true,
while,
yeah. Well, this
and then
I
we had
I'll let your imagination go. The stepmom, a
yeah, yeah.
modern day
Yeah, yeah,
stepmom.
yeah,
I'll
yeah,
leave
yeah,
the
yeah, yeah.
conversation there.
Exactly, exactly. I was gonna say, Mama, that's not the same conversation as Buff Bagwell's mom on a pole or whatever. So,
Judy Bagwell on a pole? Hell yeah, that's an all-time classic, baby. Anything on a pole match is an all-time classic, but a Judy Bagwell on a pole match, you can't get
Judy
much better than
Bagwell.
that. Why haven't we had many pole match I feel like we haven't a good old-fashioned pole match in a minute in any federation. I think AEW did a flag match recently, but, anyways, we need another mom on a pole match. If anyone's listening, please, New Order Wrestling, put, Fly 9 Noriega's mom or somebody's mom up on the top rope for the Street Fight Championship or something. We'll figure it out, but
I
anyways,
I do think Rest of Us
yeah,
had a pole match recently with Dustin Waller, if I'm not mistaken. I'm sure somebody will tell me
that
I was
sounds
wrong,
right. By the way,
but I
talking about I know we gave Baylor and Smokes their flowers. Dustin Flash Waller, as seen on TNT at the Hammerstein Ballroom, Dustin
right,
Waller facing
right,
world champions, Dustin Waller. This kid, man, I hate
yeah.
calling people
You
kids, I
know,
really do. This
it's
man, he's in Dustin Waller, man, you will see him somewhere on television within the next year. It's gotta be. The
oh,
dude is unbelievable.
100%. 100%. You said two things right for me. Number one, give them your flowers. JJ and I have genuinely started doing that. So when
Yes.
Ricky Smokes got the official call up for NXT, his last show at Chaotic, we showed up with flowers and we stood there in line and we were the last people to talk to him before the night was over. And we gave him his flowers. We genuinely gave him actual living, breathing, loving flowers that I took
Figuratively and literal flowers.
it took 45 minutes to find because the three places I thought would have flowers apparently don't sell live flowers. They just sell potted plants. And I said, what the fuck? Okay.
I think he would've been okay with a potted plant too,
He
but
would, why'd you get me a cactus? I don't know, dude. Is all they had. All right. We have given flowers to talent when they have achieved a certain level, where that's where they won a title, or they got onto, let's say, we owe some flowers to Omer Lacasa because he is now part of the Chaotic Wrestling roster as a singles competitor, and the fact that the man lives 3 hours from Nepal but was there every single night for a couple of years to make sure he could learn his craft. Give that man his due. And I owe you flowers, Omar. I love you, bro. But Dustin, he actually pulled. What's funny is when we drove the hour and a half, we pulled up to the Tackle Box Brewing Company and we stopped the car. I went to open the door and a car pulled up right next to us, and it was Dustin and Sean Knight and Jay
Sean Knight,
Onyx.
another, by the way, give him flowers. Sean Knight and Jay Onyx. Sean Knight, though, some of the matches I've seen with Sean Knight, I saw one with Sean and Dustin recently too, but man, Sean Knight, another one here in, especially in the Connecticut area. Keep an eye on him.
Right. There, though, and with Kylon King, the four of them, absolutely, the four of those guys together, absolutely incredible. And you can mix and match any of the two together for a tag match or whatever, and it's phenomenal. I've seen I've seen it mixed and matched at different places with different people, and I could go on and on and on about it. But we got out of the car at the same time. Dustin got out of the car, and I've talked to him a couple of times, and he's a great, great dude, and it was just coincidental timing. So I was like, "Hey, what's up, Dizzle? What's going on, guys? We can't wait to see you." Because honestly, we at that point we didn't know what we had missed as opposed to what we were going to be seeing. So obviously he showed up and he had just left rest of us so we can do more matches. I think he did like 8 or 9 matches this past weekend. So shout out to
Yeah, I
those
saw him
guys.
post about something ridiculous like that.
Yeah.
Like, bro, I took a 3-mile walk on Sunday after a show. I felt like I was gonna be in bed for at least the next week. So just being here on the podcast is a struggle right now. Just kidding.
Couple pop more free energy drinks.
Yeah. I will say ever since I started getting into this, I haven't had a single energy drink at part of any of my shows. I go in completely blind on water. I don't have coffee. I don't do energy drinks. I do everything naturally, which some people might say you're a fucking liar. Well, bring it on, baby. I don't need no caffeine. Just
Well,
naturally full of this. The Von Quest
right.
energy flows through me.
And I could see that because of the fact that you're in that hot seat, right? You're in the hot seat.
I don't That's the
You're
high right there. You need a high. You sit right there and start jaw jacking about what you're seeing. That is the high. You want to talk about the best
exactly,
high you can get?
exactly. Myself, like I've done a couple of the guest spots at the Wrestling Open. Going through training right now, people ask me, "What are you trying to do?" Because I'm hitting the mat just like the rest of them, and I'm like, I don't want to be a wrestler. Just so you know, I'm not trying to be a wrestler.
Yeah, my days
Managerial, I have a
far
really
and
good
gone.
I have a really good managerial idea that I'm gonna try to sell to somebody this week and see
Keep
if
that in the back
they're
pocket. Don't
right.
spoil it on a podcast with this
No,
schmuck.
no, 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 no. No spoilers, no spoilers.
No, no
Um,
spoilers on this
I
podcast.
I I have a great idea that I'm gonna try to sell this week and see if I can get it over. Um, but ring announcing, I've been fortunate enough to learn from the great Rich Palladino. So he is the GOAT as far as I'm concerned. And I definitely want to continue learning from him. And I don't want to be another person. People have asked, like, what are you aiming to do? And I'm like, listen, anything but get in line behind Rich, because Palladino will tell you that he feels like people are just waiting for him to like retire or die. And I don't want him to like look at me and be like, "Oh, look, another person waiting for me to die." Like if Palladino thought of that of me, I would like throw up in my mouth immediately. Like that's not the way I will fucking go get a job in Pennsylvania just so Rich Palladino doesn't feel like I'm waiting for him to die. Okay,
Change your
that's
name, go into witness protection.
just not. That is the opposite of what I want to do with my life. But um,
Hey, if we're
yeah,
gonna we're talking ring announcements here. I gotta shout out my main boy, John JT, John Torres. He's been doing
yeah.
some ring announcing here in Connecticut and Massachusetts. You want to talk about the most beautiful voice I've ever heard. John JT, man, you got to bring him to your shows if you haven't heard him. He's on Twitch too. Check him out. He's one of the guys that helped me work with New Order Wrestling. So I got to give him all the shout outs in the world. John JT, man, love you, brother. Keep on doing what you're doing. Let's talk about commentators for a second. Do you mind if we talk about commentators for a second?
Yeah, let's do it.
So one of the and apologies if you were going to ask this, but I want to have it while it's top of mind is, who do you look up to in commentary? That's the one thing I always like to talk about, especially let's specifically talk about wrestling commentators. I talked about John Sterling's and your Michael K's in baseball, but wrestling announcing is so much different. Obviously, living in the moment, and everyone's like, oh, who's the Mount Rushmore of announcing? Who's that? And it's such a tough question to ask because announcing and commentating, especially in wrestling, has evolved so much so quickly. And you have to be not only you have to call the action, but you have to be somewhat entertaining and funny, which my standpoint, I'm very quick. I like to think that I'm quick-witted and I always have something to say about everything. That's why my mother hated me growing up. And my fiance also hates me because I always have something to say. Um, you know, it's not only just the voice, but it's the consistency. If people love nostalgia, people want to hear the same Michael Cole. Think about how long Michael Cole has been a voice in not just wrestling, but the WWE.
Yeah.
And that's why he's so not only is he so successful because he's so good, but I'm an attitude era kid. So are you. Who did you hear? The King and Michael Cole and JR. But Michael Cole has been on commentary for, I don't know the number and I don't want to discredit him, but it's been far over 20 plus years. And talk about consistency. He's a constant professional. He always evolves. He did that crazy heel run, which I thought was, people hated the coal mine. I fucking loved it. That shit was so funny. There's a visual of him getting his tie pulled through. I forgot who did it, but his face was smushed up against the coal mine. But think about that. He's just a commentator. I'm still thinking about it 10 plus years ago. So
Right.
I got to give Michael Cole he's on my Mount Rushmore, if not number one. You talk about your Gorilla Monsoons, your Bobby Heenan's probably on there for me too. I have a Bobby Heenan autograph somewhere back there too, as I just eat my mic. But yeah, Michael Cole, man, you want to talk about inspiration? He's got to be the current day GOAT. I mean, nothing against Bobby Heenan's, your Vince McMahon's, your anyone else did commentary in the 80s and 90s. JR, of course, is still on my Mount. JR's on the Mount Rushmore for me too, by the way. Michael Cole and JR are 1 and 2. But it's just crazy to think about that voice, that consistent voice for so long. And that's what commentary is a lot different because you said it yourself, waiting for them to die. Commentators should never want to leave their role because they're going to be remembered forever in that role. John Sterling just passed away again as the Yankees broadcaster. We're never going to forget hearing his voice 100 years from now. They're going to play it on whatever weird, holographic images we'll be playing in our living room at that point in 100 years. But you're going to hear these calls from these Michael Coles, these Jerry Lawlers, there's JRs from those historic moments that will never, ever leave the moment in time. It's crazy to think about. So that's why JR, Michael Cole will always be two of my guys on my Mount Rushmore. I hate the Mount Rushmore. It's only 4 people. I want to make that mountain as big as humanly possible. But yeah, let's Mount Rushmore is Michael Cole, JR. I'm going to have to I want to put Shivani on there, but he had a little bit of a lull for a while. So Shivani's up there. He's maybe up there. I got to say, I absolutely love Excalibur because he's different than what the standard wrestling commentary has been lately. He's still fairly new. Will I put him on my Mount Rushmore someday? Most likely, yes. But you gotta earn it there a little bit. But like Excalibur, he's very technical. He's one of the only commentators on mainstream television that's worn a mask for his entire career, which is unique. And that's what I'm trying to get to, is being unique. Gabe Sapolsky, I sat through a seminar with him at PAPW about a year ago, and the thing that stuck with me the most, from regardless if you're a talent, commentator, a ring announcer, a manager, is that you got to be different. You got to stand out. Everyone can do a suplex and an arm drag, and I can call an action to go, oh my God, what a move. But what makes you different? Well, I don't know. What's making me different is I'm just being myself. I'm being the kooky, dumb, silly guy that's stuck in the 1980s, clearly, and trying to be different in that standpoint. And whatever that case is, I'm trying to do it. And I'm just trying not to do I want to be like my idols? Absolutely. But I don't want to be exactly like my idols. You know what I'm saying? Does that make sense?
Right.
You want to accomplish the things that they did and be able to communicate the moments and sell the moments they did, but you don't want to be a carbon copy of that. So you don't want the same exact person. But that's one thing as a commentator over the last few years that I've been doing, is taking what I can from my who I think are the goats, because I'm my call is always I put a little bit of baseball in there. I have to. Calling the action in baseball is a lot different than calling the action in wrestling because it's always on the you're always on, oh my god, the hands are up, motions are that. In baseball, obviously you have those moments, but it's a little bit more relaxed and chill. And when I'm during the middle moments of a match, I'm not as boisterous and animated as I could. And that's for a reason, is that I want to save those moments, save that energy, save that for two guys going off the top rope into a table, for thumbtacks. My first thumbtacks experience was last Saturday at New Order Wrestling, but I won't spoil too much with that. But, it's standing out, being different. Again, life lessons that anyone could tell you. But there's a reason why you hear it so often because it works, right? So, take that for, well, I never answered the question of who's on my Mount Rushmore of all four. But now I want to
You
think
gave
about
me
it for a
2.
second before I give any sort of I gave two, and I was complaining that it's not big enough. All right. Right now, I'll give my four: JR, Michael Cole. I'm going to put Excalibur on there. I know I'm going to get a lot of hate. I'm sorry, but I respect the shit out of him. He's awesome. And you know what? My fourth can be Renee Paquette, Renee Young. And I know she didn't do too much commentating, but talking about a inspirational woman in wrestling. We were talking about Shannon Levangie and your daughter. I'm a big supporter of having every single man, woman, child, anyone be represented. When Renee did commentary on Raw for the first time, was such a welcome sound to hear. But now seeing Renee killing it, by the way, as an interviewer in AEW, and she's being innovative, you know, doing these ringside interviews now by the camera right as the entrants are going through things that I haven't personally seen in a long time, or if ever, whether that be in mainstream WWE or even side things. But it's so great to see different representatives of different everything in wrestling, and seeing Renee now do a lot, killing it in the game as an announcer, or I should say as an interviewer, is really cool to see. And I hope to see more of that too. Arcady Ara, she works for AW as well, doing really well. Dasha Fuentes did a good job there too. It's just really neat to see all these different personalities coming through and being able to display their voice, their emotions in different ways too, because everyone has a different voice and everyone has portrays it in different ways. So it's really neat to see that. So my short answer is those four for right now. And hopefully that will get me so much hate because I'm going to forget all these people. It doesn't matter. It's my favorite. I see,
Exactly.
and getting on a soapbox again, when you say your favorites or no one can tell you what your favorites are. Doesn't matter what they're your favorites for. Now, when I say best ever, that's a whole nother discussion. I'm talking about my favorites, my favorites. So don't give me no hate for you people watching. I know you're gonna. We talked about social media not being a real place, and I believe in that. But before you comment, remember, you can't tell me my favorite.
Man. No, people can't definitely tell you who your favorites are, and I do love the fact that you were, you salted it up there, and you're not wrong about Michael Cole, though. I mean, he's been a very consistent person on television throughout the, Vince era and beyond, and there have been so many people, like even Mick Foley. Like, Mick Foley for a little while thought he was gonna be a commentator, part of the
Yeah, he did
group,
commentary for a
but
hot second, I think, for here and there, in
yeah,
the
he
late
just
2000s, maybe. I don't. It sounds familiar, and I'd have to go back and look.
well, it was like right after it was around like 2000, like late 2000, early 2010s. Like
Yeah, that sounds.
he was flirting with the ideas before he went to TNA. Basically, he was thinking the idea of moving to the commentator booth, but he just couldn't stand Vince in his ear. He couldn't stand Vince in his ear going blah 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 the whole time. Don't say it this way, say it that way. It's not wrestling, it's sports entertainment. He couldn't do that, so he left that and he moved on to TNA and everything. The fact that Michael Cole endured all that stuff and he's still around for everything else today, and he's in great shape, and
Yeah,
he's
that dude, he hasn't changed. He looks just as young as he did when he was getting that jacket thrown over his face by The Rock in that backstage, whenever that was. That's a great interview. I got to say a quick Mick Foley story while you bring him up because it just made me. So Mick has done these. I don't want to call them comedy shows, but he goes around different comedy clubs. He hasn't done it recently, but he used to tell stories, stories from the road type of thing, the Hell in a Cells and this. But a lot of them are comedic. Anyways, we saw him here, Funny Bone, Hartford, Connecticut, Manchester. He performed, and I worked at the mall actually, ironically, going back to FYE at the time. And one of my coworkers said, "I'm going to be here. I'll just get in line, and we'll get in there first." I'm like, "Sure, why not?" So we ended up getting like I don't know how many comedy clubs there all kind of look the same, but there's a stage, and our seats are literally touching the stage. So I can go like right here and like touch McFoley. Like we're right there. So we're sitting there, he's doing a story, and it's a comedy club that has food and drinks and whatnot. So I ordered, I think it was like penny alla vodka or mac and cheese. It was some sort of macaroni, whatever the case was. So I'm eating, and then just mid show, Mick comes over, takes a hand, grabs his hand, grabs like a handful of pasta from my plate. He's just like, "Thank you very much," and he just continues on the show. Just it's classic Mick Foley, and it was great. It was a great moment. Everyone popped it. I, of course, I continued to eat. Who wouldn't want to eat with the fingers of Mick Foley going through your penny alla vodka? But where, whatever it was, it was so much fun. Such a good story, and
Oh
I'll
my
never forget
god.
that.
That's
That was
great.
great. That was like I said 7 or 8 years ago. He was doing that tour, but yeah,
Shout
Mick's a
out.
great. That was my one interaction with Mick Foley, and it was incredible.
Yeah, that's amazing. Shout out, Funny Bone. They actually give a lot of like a lot of free tickets
Oh, yeah, fun yeah, I love
to
the Funny Bone.
veterans as
Great
well. So
spot.
that's always not that I get to go down there very often for that stuff because of various reasons, but the fact that they're willing to give me free tickets, I got to thank you for that.
Free is free, baby.
Um, JJ and I went and met Mick Foley, I think about 2 years ago, maybe even 3 years ago now, at Zombie Hideout in Springfield. He was doing a signing in June or July, and knowing, obviously he's such a big Christmas guy, we brought him Christmas presents. So we did Christmas in July. She brought her Santa sweater. She had to wait until she got inside to put it on because it was a little warm outside. And we had, a whole bag full of. We bought him like a Santa version of Optimus Prime, so and we
That's
bought him
great.
some other, like, very strange Santa creations and stuff, and we gave him a his Christmas and July presents, and, we gave him instead of we actually had a Christmas card and everything for him, and he was so happy to be like, "Oh, man, it's Christmas today, woo!" You know what I mean? Bang, bang, right? So, what a great guy, like, what a great guy to meet, and he was so grateful, and plenty of hugs and handshakes and stuff. So you gotta love. It's how do you not love Mick Foley, man? Like, come on. Um, but yeah, JJ got to meet the legend, and it was a great day. She just knew him as the guy who really loves Santa Claus. So
Hey, that's all you gotta know him for. There's nothing else
right,
he's really known for that I know of.
yeah,
No, Mix
man,
yeah, again, that one Mix, talk about top 10 lists, he's definitely on my top 10. Favorites, not best. Folks, calm down. I
right.
think that we will be here for another day if we talk about top 10 favorites of that, but I'm always here. I got nothing else to do today, so
Right, right. And so many people want to argue, and it's like at the end of the day, if that's your opinion, that's just your opinion, man. Like,
Yep,
just you don't the
100%.
idea of trying to convince someone else that they're not correct about what their favorite thing is mind-boggling to me. Like, it's like, that's so much energy when you could be doing anything else, and so many people have, like, almost misrepresented me as someone who runs away from confrontation, but me, I'm just more of a "why would I waste my time" kind of person. Like, am I really gonna waste my time arguing with this person who says that 2 plus 2 equals potato? Like, if it's if they think it's potato, I'm not gonna waste the rest of my life screaming at someone, "Well, it's not potato, you're a blah, blah, blah." Wait,
Shout
what
out,
kind
Uncle Otis, potato here at PAPW, one of our fellow broadcasters here in Connecticut, but
Right.
yeah,
So
sorry to interrupt, but I gotta just agree with you 1,000%. You know, I will always have a conversation with someone, no matter which side of this, whatever they're saying, side of the argument they are. I'll never shut someone down for a conversation, but at the same time, if you're 2 plus 2 equals banana, numbers don't lie. So you're lying to me, right?
yeah,
So you just got to take those conversations and, case by case. That's how I feel
right?
about it.
Right. And me, I just take a step back and I'm like, yeah, man, sounds good, bro. Awesome. So I'm so happy for you. That's wonderful. I'm going to go over here now. Have a nice day. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, it's just not to me, especially the older I've gotten and the fact that I've been divorced, right? The fact that I, you know, I have the baby mama drama and all that other stuff. I don't need any more
Your
fighting or arguing or
your
what.
drama capacity is where it needs to be.
It's not, it's what am I, ugh, not worth it. Once again, And some people can be like, "Oh, well, blah, 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 blah." Yeah, sure. Maybe your logic checks out. Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. But maybe I just don't care. And maybe there's not a rule that says that I have to give a shit.
I mean, it
Okay?
goes back to my conversation on these are my favorites. This is my situation, my life. You ain't in my shoes. I ain't wearing shoes right now. I'll tell you that right now. I'm not actually. I'm That's a beautiful thing about having my own setup. I got my standing desk here. I got my little walk my I got a walking pad here. I can do miles. I should have been walking while doing this conversation. I guess I could be if it looked like that.
I could
But
have busted out my little fake
no,
bike
you
thing.
bring yeah, I got hey, I've been working remotely now since the COVID eras, so and I gotta be near my workstation all the time, so I gotta start moving, so, talk about what you want to make sure you get out and start moving. I would try to walk 5 miles a day. I'm inside all day, so everyone try to get out, do something, move around a little bit, don't get cooped up inside all day, do what you can. I'm a big proponent of just getting outside moving, so enjoy this. It's 90 degrees. By the way, spring just doesn't exist anymore in New England. I don't know about anyone else here in the New England area. Spring, I live near the shore here in Connecticut, so it's a little bit humid too. I'm telling you right now, spring is just gone. It doesn't exist anymore. You're going to get 30, 30, 40, 40, 50, 90 today, 90 tomorrow, 60 on Thursday. Make up your fucking mind, New England weather, for Christ's sake.
Okay.
I've had enough of it. I'm
Jay
I'm calling you out. New England weather patterns. Calling you out. This isn't Florida. It doesn't rain every 5 seconds. It's not humid. Wasn't when I was growing up. We used to get snow every weekend. All right. That's it.
No, JJ is
That's
gonna love
kind
this
of promo on the
podcast.
climate here. Gosh, getting me heated.
Right, right. No, JJ's gonna love this podcast because she's been saying that for like a week now. She's like, "Spring is bullshit. Why do we even blah blah?" Blah. She actually had like she texted me like a whole thing this morning. I kid you not, about how she got like an argument at school about the idea that like, I don't care what your calendar says. Spring isn't it. This is not spring. This is not what spring like. She is on the same level, but everybody's like, well, the calendar says it's spring, so it means it's spring, and blah, 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 blah.
Bummer.
And she's
No,
like, well, it's
it's a bummer.
93 degrees. That's not spring, asshole. So, oh,
She's right.
man. I can't wait.
Hey,
I can't wait
I
to send her this video.
I wanna say earlier today, earlier in this interview, when anytime you guys are at a show with me and you want her to come check out what I do for production-wise, I'm more than happy to have her shadow me for anything you want. Cameras, commentary, just live, setting up my computer and stuff. We can coordinate that in that time, but she's more than welcome to come and hang out with us at commentary and see how I do my thing.
It's amazing.
I love showing, I love teaching. Whenever that lines up, if it airs, tell JJ she's more than welcome behind the Cory Von Quest commentary booth. Come hang out with us.
She's going to love it. She's going to
Show
love
her the
it.
ropes.
Show her the ropes. She's gonna love it. Yeah. We were talking about commentary. We have another the Zote, Zach of all trades
Ah,
there.
so Zoe and I have crossed paths and said hi, but we haven't worked together. But we will be coming up. I don't have the date in front of me. June. I got a quick plug for Pure Vanguard coming up on June 13th, Saturday, Bristol, Connecticut. Zoe, Zachary, and I will be on commentary for the first time together, and I've been told our commentary is going to gel very well together. So we'll have to see
I think
on
so.
June 13th.
I think you guys are gonna do really well together. And it's funny because we saw Zach on Friday night. JJ is giving out these special awards to her wrestling family. So she thinks of Zach as like a wrestling brother, that she says. So he was very gracious in receiving his wrestling brother award. We made sure to give a hug it out. He came and found me in the crowd because I had the worst headache in the history of my life. I was literally in excruciating pain driving like 2.5 hours to the NCW show, and I think it was Dudley or whatever, Massachusetts. And I could not even stand up. Like had the worst. I don't know what it was. I don't know why it
Migraines
existed,
are
but I
no
had the
joke.
worst. I just was in super pain. But shout out to Zach that he came up to me and he was like, he was sarcastic. He was rising me. He was like, hey man, I can't believe you made me. You're trying to big league me, making me come up to you to say hi. And I was like, bro, you didn't have to. And he's like, no, I'm coming to say hi if I have to come to say hi. And I was like, I was gonna come after the show. I was gonna come say hi before I left, but I literally could not stand up during intermission. I was in so much pain. And I took everything under the kitchen sink I could think of to try to get rid of this headache, and it just was not going away.
Nothing can beat a intense headache or migraine. I hear you that. So the
Right. So
uncrowned, undefeated streak will never end champion, the migraine headache.
Right, right. Absolutely. So, but that was the day that Zach told us that he was going to. That was the first time he's going to be missing Focus Pro for for that show, which almost made us even because we had to miss a Sunday show recently for Focus Pro because of we can't go to Sundays, so we felt even like oh he missed a show, we're missing a show, but we definitely man. So, there's always like 9 shows going on at the same time. It's hard to choose sometimes because 'cause you're like, "I know all these people. I wanna go see this other show, but I know Evan and I love Focus Pro, so I don't wanna miss it, but at the same time, I wanna see what the hell's going on over at this other show." So it's like a conflict of interest almost.
No, I'm gonna transition, man, you and I. So I'll say in this last year, that's one thing that I got exposed to that I never really thought about is multiple people wanting your experience and your expertise and your talents. So that is ironic. I don't want to, not trying to give myself flowers, but it's happened now a few times where I've had to make a decision and like, do I want to work for this company or I've already been, this company came to me first. I'm going to always acknowledge that and that's one thing I will always, for as long, no matter where I go in this industry, if I agree to a booking and I will always make sure I will make that one first unless something, catastrophic happens. New Order booked me for last Saturday. I was also asked to do rest of us in Worcester,
Worcester.
excuse me. Which, by the way, what an incredible event they had there. I checked
Yes.
it out. I have to say I wasn't there because I was doing New Order, um, but what an incredible event! Talking about wrestling being at an all-time high, where else have we seen something like that happen? Here in New England, in Worcester, Connecticut. Awesome. Absolutely cool to see. I can't wait. I'm really hoping to be part of the next one. But yeah, I got asked to do rest of us and New Order asked me first and New Order takes the priority. So that will always be something I believe in is I'll try to make sure if someone asks me to go somewhere, the first one, it's on my calendar, I'm booked. So I'll see you at Pure Vanguard on June 13th, hopefully.
Right.
Bristol,
No,
Connecticut.
and, I was talking to Simon Miller, about this because well, when you get the chance to talk to Simon Miller, you just do it anyways. So I was
Exactly.
talking to Simon, and he was really just talking to me about the whole state of uncertainty right now because as at least as of right now, WrestleMania 43 is supposed to be in Saudi Arabia, right? So the question is, what does the rest of the circus do? Because as you would know, WrestleMania normally brings everybody and their mom to one particular city for all this other stuff.
Isn't it
And it
crazy? Just to reiterate in that point, probably, I'm not, I don't have this number, but I would say what 5%, if not less, of all the wrestling that happens at WrestleMania weekend is at WrestleMania.
yes,
I'm completely pulling that number out of my ass. But when you look at just GCW alone, that does dozens of show, I feel like in one night. Like, isn't that crazy to think about? That it's definitely less than 10% of all the wrestling on WrestleMania weekend happens at WrestleMania. Isn't that
absolutely.
crazy?
Absolutely. I mean,
Sorry to interrupt, but
we
I just
were
had to throw that
no,
one
it's
out there.
true. We go back to him. I saw Jermaine Marbury. He was working for GCW in Las Vegas this year as crew, and they were in the Horseshoe hotel and casino, and just during that morning to Friday, Saturday, Sunday, whatever it was, they had like fucking 12 shows going on. Like
Insane.
it's
Effie's
insane.
Big Gay Brunch
Um
goes on. Like there's
right,
shows 20 all weekend. I love when I went to my WrestleMania days, 29, like the 29, 30, 31, 32. I went to. There was your WrestleCons, there was this, that, but it was nowhere near the
right.
amount of wrestling that follows around. So going back to you saying, WrestleMania, I've heard rumors about night one somewhere, night two in Saudi or whatever that honestly, I don't really care. I don't really follow. I'm not as up to date on their product as much. And I'm also not paying $30 a month plus that to get a pay-per-view, but it's another discussion for another podcast. Uh, but it's kind of it's crazy that we've talked about wrestling and just in general being as popular that it's ever been. So many different flavors of ice cream as we've talked about. But yeah, going back to the seeing Jermaine Marbury just working WrestleMania weekend that's awesome. Look the opportunities we're getting because there's so and Jermaine Marbury's from Connecticut, here in Connecticut at
Right.
5 miles down the road from I am, PAPW school is where he came up. And now just he got to go to Vegas in the
Absolutely.
biggest wrestling event of all of the year of all you know, WrestleMania is always the biggest wrestling event of all time of every year. I feel like
Right.
numbers, money wise, obviously, right? So it's crazy, absolutely nuts.
Absolutely. And, I mean, I went to there was, the Bazaar Bar, which is on Main Street in the north end of, the Strip of Las Vegas, and I saw New Texas Pro Wrestling, and that show was the beginning of, like, I think a 5-show day, and that was Thursday the Thursday before WrestleMania. I saw a show. Honestly, mostly because I knew Gabby Forza was on the card, so I went to that particular show, and it was a great show, in fact, I can do my first shameless plug. I'm gonna have the Wind Dragon Dustin Wen on the podcast. I met him during that week. As we're speaking, it's Monday. He's gonna be recording with me on Thursday, um, with
It's
that
got a lot to
particular.
live up to after this.
Right, and then you said it right, so today's Monday, tomorrow, Tuesday, I'll have, Ref Nick Mitchell on the podcast. So,
Oh my gosh, my
you
guy. I'm sorry, I gotta top you again. You want to talk about the reason why I am standing right here at this podcast for you? It is referee Nick Mitchell. Oh, you guys are in for a treat because everything that comes out of that man's mouth and his mind, I will forever follow. So, ref Nick Mitchell, thank you. All the flowers, everything that I could ever give goes to that man right there. So, you're in for a hell of a podcast with the ref Nick Mitchell, who, by the way, takes craziest bumps I've ever seen for a referee. I saw him almost die at GCW earlier this year, last year, whatever it was. It was crazy. This dude is. I can't give Nick Mitchell enough flowers, man. This one of my personal guys here. So you guys make sure to watch that one.
yeah, I'm very excited. I was very honored that he reached out to me and asked if he could be on the podcast. I'm very, very excited. And
No Cory Von Quest without ref Nick Mitchell. I'll say that right here. And
boom.
if we're doing more flowers, I haven't said his name yet. There'd be no Cory Von Quest without Purdy Kurt Adonis, Mr. Kurt, as some of you know him by, for wrestling with character. He was one of the very first people I interacted with when I first asked the question, "Do I want to do this again?" Um, Purdy Kurt Adonis, Mr. Kurt is what he goes by now with wrestling character. The the greatest mind I have ever talked to in my career of working here is Cory Von Quest. So make sure to shout out Wrestling with Character. I haven't worked with them yet, but that is a great company for all ages. They do so much great stuff for the younger kids and put on an incredible show. I've been to a few of their shows, and they're one of the very first feds that I've seen that a story is always happening. And what I mean by that, there are wrestlers out in the crowd before the show. They're out in the lobby. They're telling stories. They're interacting with the
Right.
fans. It's such a beautiful thing to watch. So anyone that's watching this is go check out Wrestling with Character live. I've been to a few shows just as a fan. It's much different than what you're used to seeing in wrestling, and it's a very very welcome, beautiful thing to see. And
Yeah.
Ref Nick Mitchell also goes by that. He'll probably talk about that. I want to tell him too much before Thursday, but yeah,
No, it's great because you just plug in the next one, so it makes it look even better. But I know Wrestling with Character. I JJ and I haven't had the pleasure of going just yet, but we were dying to go for the longest time because of Mortar. Mortar is one of JJ's wrestling dads, and he's a great guy. I know there's so many wonderful characters, and we're always kind of paying attention to the different shenanigans that are happening there. But
you
we
mean
have yet.
Rat Rom, not Mortar, right?
Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah. Wink, wink. CJ Cruz. Wink, wink. You know what I mean? that's not that's not Shannon. That's Eyeless. Wink, wink. Right. No, um, but yeah, that those type of I think those type of shows are super necessary for the independent scene because not only are they giving the wrestlers themselves exposure into different characters and versions of themselves, but it's also giving special engagement to the audience and it's showing especially a younger crowd what's possible, right? It's going outside because there are so many people who are purists and snobs, and I get it. Maybe you only watch New Japan Pro Wrestling and it makes you a Jesus in wrestling. Sure, no problem, guy. But for the rest of us, sometimes we don't mind a little goofy wrestling. You know what I mean? Sometimes we don't. You know,
That's
you
my
kept using.
favorite.
I'll use the parlance here, right? I don't. I do. There is never going to be a time when I go into an ice cream parlor and pick the exact same flavor over and over and over again. It is never going to fucking happen as long as there is oxygen in my lungs and maybe there's not a computer chip in my brain telling me what to think. Every single time I step up to that machine, I'm going to pick 2 or 3 different flavors that even I thought was a stupid, crazy idea. Maybe I'm going to get mango sorbet and fucking Rocky Road, and I'm putting in there, and maybe it tastes like shit. But you know what? I'd rather have the adventure and try the flavor one time because you never know what's going to actually taste good together until you try it yourself, my friends. So,
Brother, this is a shoot. This is a real shoot. River Restaurant yesterday on the shore, West Haven, Connecticut. Beautiful day for Cory Von Quest to go on a side quest. Your guy got a cinnamon toast crunch taco with ice cream in the middle, vanilla ice cream. Let me tell you, shout out to River Restaurant on the water. Beautiful spot in the summer. Greatest ice. I'd never had an ice cream cinnamon taco before. You want to talk about throwing a different things into your ice cream, all these different toppings and flavors? That is wrestling with character in a way. It's all these different things you'd never expect for in wrestling, and it goes in. It goes so good together, just like that cinnamon toast crunch taco with ice cream in it that I got from River Restaurant on the water, West Haven, Connecticut. Not sponsored. Wish I was, but
there
yeah,
you
that's
go.
we've talked about a theme of this podcast makes me want to. I'm starving, by the way, now for ice cream,
Yeah,
but
I'm hungry as fuck now.
that's one thing I want to make sure that if there's one thing that gets out of this, that if anyone gives a shit about Cory Von Quest, just know that there's so many different flavors of wrestling out there, and it doesn't matter if someone likes that flavor or not. It only matters of what you like. Don't worry about what other people like because it's ice cream at the end of the day. It's all the same shit. It's all ice cream. It just tastes different. It's ice cream. Doesn't matter if it's on
Exactly.
Wednesdays or Mondays or Tuesdays or Thursdays or Fridays or Saturdays and Sundays only on pay-per-view. It doesn't matter where you get your ice cream. It's still ice cream at the end of the day. And I get most of my ice cream in person at my shows and on YouTube for free. So
Yeah,
that's how I like to get my wrestling.
yeah. I
Excuse
mean,
me, my
to
ice
be
cream.
to be fair, I mean, I do the VPN. So I switch my VPN so I'm in Canada and then I can watch all the WWE content I want on Netflix. There you go. There you go. Um
That's the way
but
to
no,
do it.
I genuinely want to say that because I know so many people who would look down upon some like kaiju pro wrestling, right? Like, oh, look at these idiots in their stupid suits, or you know, maybe
Cosplay championship that's our
right,
sister company Tetsu, who when we I haven't worked for cosplay yet, so I don't want to say we yet. But when Tetsu has run cosplay at ConnectiCon, you're being exposed as a wrestler to thousands of people walking by, and now every year, cosplay championship wrestling is the biggest attraction. One of the biggest attractions at ConnectiCon. Who would have thought? When you
right.
have Ken from Street Fighter fighting Super Mario, or Wario fighting Samus Aran, or Link going up against
Oh, of
what else did I see? It's crazy. Again, a different flavor that you might not like, but there's 1,000 other people, if not more, that love it. So who are
course.
you to say that that flavor is not good? But
Exactly. Exactly. And you know, you got me on one because so I have done some cosplay in the past.
I have to.
I love to be the Joker, right? So I have my
I
I do
shall
the
share.
I get I really get into the voice. I am more Mark Hamill inspired than anything else because he's the voice of he's the voice of Joker in my mind, just like Kevin Conroy. Kevin Conroy will always be my on-screen or dubbed Batman whatsoever. If I want to talk about my genuine Batman, I have to shout out to my buddy Matches Malone, who's been a cosplayer of Batman for a few decades now, and he's a saint. And Matches, if you watch this one, I love you, bro. Let's go get some food, Matches, because I'm starving right now. So let's go get
I
some
am
food.
too. I'll come with you. I'll shoot up there.
So
It's not that.
it'll be a great day. It'll be a lot of fun. But there was it was Granite State Comic Con. I think it was no October, November, whatever the fuck, September 2024. I got to dress up as my Joker, and I told myself I was going to be in pure character the whole time, and it was in fucking incredible because I was walking down they were at the SNHU arena. We call it around here. We just called it the Snoo Snoo Arena, right? So the Snoo Snoo Arena, exactly. Death by Snoo Snoo. So we
Shout
called
out Fry, love you, Fry.
so
Pillsbury Fry.
we were at the Snoo Snoo Arena, and this random guy dressed as Mario showed up, and he was like,
Probably me.
"Will you please do a video with me?" And I was like, "Absolutely." So he's dressed as Mario. He walks over to me. He has me shake his hand, and basically I'm pretending as if I'm electrocuting him, right? So he's getting electroshocked, and I'm just like screaming like a lunatic. It's a stadium that normally holds like 10,000 people, and I am filling this place with my crazy person laughter. And after he falls down, I'm just like I'm just put the jacket on. I'm just like, doing my thing. And I notice at this point, we've garnered a crowd, probably like 30 people. Most look absolutely terrified at this point. Most people aren't sure if this is a work or a shoot. Like, did I just genuinely fucking murder this
And
person? Did
that's
I
the
just
best type.
genuinely,
That's the best
like,
type.
they genuinely were like, I don't know, should I be calling the police? Did he just like, they were, some people are genuinely concerned that either I was a real lunatic on the fucking loose that was going to start burn the place down, or
Most
that
people that dress as Joker in past history have been that, so they're not
yeah,
wrong.
they're not wrong. So it's they had all the correct, proper, logical reasons to be concerned at this point. Um, and then I stayed, posed for a minute, and then the guy got off the floor and he's like, "Oh, that was fucking amazing. Thank you so much." Right. You know, and that kind of washed away the panic. I think that was over a lot of people. But the genuine lack that I don't know, maybe the internet, I would say, the not so real social media can't understand that cosplay can have such an effect on a human being. Like, I've experienced it firsthand. So the idea of a cosplay wrestling, I don't know, it sounds like a sign up to me. I know there
So much
are
fun.
there's a I've seen a couple of different places. I know like shout out to DJ Powers. There was a last November there was a Comic-Con in what's it called? Up in Maine. I can't remember the name of the Comic.
Where isn't there a Comic Con nowadays? By the way, there's
Yeah.
East Timbuktu's regional Comic Con. I have one happening at the motel down the road here. But anyway,
So there was a Comic-Con in Maine, and they had Limitless Wrestling there, like 4 or 5 shows a day. And I remember that weekend, I want to say DJ Powers wrestled 7 different shows, I think he did, in like a 4 or 5 day time span. He looked so spent when I had seen him. I think it was on a Saturday. He had just driven like 2 or 4 hours north to wrestle 2 matches, and then he drove 2 hours south to be where we were for that show. And he still had a couple of more days to go. And I just gave him all the props I could. I was like, "Man, you're doing a great job. Keep it up, bro." Um, but the idea that wrestling is starting to become a cornerstone of those type of conventions, I couldn't love it more if I tried. Like, it's incredible.
I need to pause 1 second to let my cat out, but I do want to say for some screen time because she's also an important part of my life. This is Ellie. She's a good girl. Daddy cat would be proud, but she also wants to get out of the office. So, be back 1 second.
Run away!
All right, come on, you can get out of the quest cave, and now you don't want to get out. Okay, and now she's out of the quest cave. All right, get out of here. Okay, sorry about that. She's my biggest fan, clearly. All right. I mean, I got all day, not gonna lie to you, but I know you probably got stuff to do. I can stay here for as long as you want me to stay here.
Oh, yeah,
So it's totally your call when you
I
want to
have
give
till
it the kibosh.
I have till 3:30, so
All right, right on. Yeah, I got stuff to talk about till my ears go deaf until my eyes dry out. So I got stories, I got things I can come up with the back of my ass to talk about. But yeah,
so have you
um,
have you worked one of those like Comic-Con shows then?
I haven't worked at Comic-Con personally in any capacity. I will ironically be working a card show later this summer. Talking if we do want to transition to collectibles, I got some stuff to show off. I have to go get it. But yeah, I'll be working a card show, ironically, a day after I think Tetsu in June over at the Yard Goats Stadium. I have a lot of collectibles. I'm looking to find some new homes. So I have in the last decade of, not only have I loved wrestling, but I've been a collector of certain things. So I got a good inventory of some neat stuff that maybe we can talk about. But yeah, I haven't personally worked a con of any kind in any capacity. I've just gone as an attendee. I've been to New York Comic Con a few times. I've been to Rhode Island Comic Con a bunch of times. Connecticut Retro. My favorite one though, got to shout out Retro World Expo here in Hartford. It's specifically just video games, which I'm a big video, not as much of a comic guy, not as much of an anime guy. I'm big video game guy. Oh, too while we're here. Got my Super Mario full
Wow.
sleeve colored tattoo as well. Got to show that of course. But yeah, I haven't done as a con as a worker, but I've attended more than I'd like to admit as an attendee. And I've cosplayed as Walter White. I think I cosplayed as the Miz once, as Mr. Money in the Bank Miz. One of my favorite cash-ins, by the way. It's very underrated cash-in, the Miz. Just saying. Um, what else have I gone as? Now you're making me think. Definitely Walter White, because I got a lot of pictures of that. Breaking Bad, my all-time favorite television show. Better Call Saul and Breaking Bad, by the way, 1 and 2, they are the same show, so they are number 1 together for me. I think that's top of mind. That's my 2 big cosplay ones that I've done. I haven't done it huge, but yeah, I did a good Walter White because
Have
kind
you
of built for it here
have
and
you been
there.
down to Albuquerque at all?
I have not. My partner, my fiance, she's been she did the Breaking Bad tour and everything, told me how cool it was. I have yet to be to New Mexico, but it is on the bucket list for Cory Von
Okay.
Quest for sure.
Yeah, I was actually engaged at one point to a woman from Albuquerque, and we went back for a friend's wedding. And I took an opportunity to um, go on my own adventure instead of dealing with some of the wedding headaches that I would have had to deal with.
Did
And
you get yelled at by the White House owner woman who just sold it? I heard.
no, no. Well, actually, I there's a like a muse at least at the time in like Old Town Albuquerque. There's like a museum slash like photo opportunity slash like um you know
Oreo
shop.
or call it what you want.
Yeah, so you could go in there and they sell all the related stuff to the shows, and then they have like a fake Hermanos set up.
Yes, it's at yeah, I know what you're
Yeah.
talking about.
So
All right,
in
I'm gonna grab another collectible while you keep talking. I'll be right
all
back.
right. So for the audience here, you can go to Albuquerque if you are a fan, and you can go ahead and get your photo opportunities. I made sure to have a seat on a Better Call Saul bench with a fake cardboard cutout of Saul Goodman, and got all kinds of photographs, which now that I think about it, all that stuff might have been deleted in the Great Purge, unfortunately.
So this is empty, but I got my Schrader brow
Oh,
browsed by the one and only Dean Norris. Now, this is my holy grail of Breaking Bad. This is the complete Blu-ray box set. I have
oh
signed
wow.
by. I can try to see it in reverse, but I got it by Gustavo, Giancarlo Esposito, Steve Gomez, Gomi, Tuco, and then Nacho, Michael Mando. Got him. That's actually good. That's a good signature on there. Whoop, other way. But yes, that's my favorite Breaking Bad piece I own is the barrel signed by. I don't have Walter or Jesse on there yet because they're a little hard to come by. But yeah, Breaking Bad, Better Call Saul. What an incredible piece of art all of that is.
Yeah, the great shows. And I did not get to see the statues though, and that was 100% due to a lack of information on the internet about where they were specifically. So I didn't realize that they were in this one specific building because all the pictures of them, it made it look like they were outside the building. I didn't realize they were inside the building. So if I would have realized they were inside the building, I would have seen them. But by the time I realized they were inside the building, they locked the goddamn doors on me. So I was standing outside looking like this and like, oh, there it is. Son of a bitch. You know what I mean?
There they are.
But I did get to have that adventure for that day, and it was as a fan of the shows, it was very exciting. It was kind of strange though, because I could kind of see why some of the people were like upset that they were selling like fake meth candy and stuff like that. I could, as a father, right? As a fun person, as an adult, it's like whatever, it's just candy. But as a father, I could be like, yeah, why are you giving your kids donuts with sprinkled crack cocaine on it? That's a little weird. But if you have the right conversation with your child and you're like, we're not actually eating crack cocaine, this is just a
I
thing.
I'm
You know
pretty
what I
sure I
mean?
have blue rock candy somewhere in my Breaking Bad shrine that I have in here in the office.
Right, right.
Uh,
It's just like,
trying to f
hey, we and not to mention sometimes things don't need to be fucking PG, okay? Let us
no.
adults have our fun too, right?
And,
It,
getting this back to related to wrestling a little bit, that's I like my wrestling with a little bit of violence. So, I tend to kinda alleviate. I've been to many a GCW show, sat in the splash zone. GCW has run here in Hartford a few times in Connecticut, and one thing I've performed at the Webster Theater as a musician many times, and even 10 plus years ago, the Webster had basically no rules. You could do whatever you wanted there then. And when GCW goes there, they follow very similar standards because it is nonsense. I'm not going to, give away matches or tell you what happened there, but there are no rules. The safety goes right out the window in a lot of cases. And it was actually one of my childhood high school friends. I brought him there for the first time for his first ever wrestling show. He sat front row for GCW. And within 5 minutes, a bloodied, I believe it was teriyaki or somebody got thrown right into his lap. And that was his very first wrestling show. And I'm like, would you come again? He's like, absolutely. But like,
absolutely.
those are the things I like to see is people that are exposed that have been completely outside of wrestling and get exposed to even just like a GCW or a New Order Wrestling, but not even like the WWEs, the AEWs. I want to see them come to the independents and show them what real wrestling is to start. Like you can watch it on TV all you want, but if these people that you're seeing on TV, this is exactly what they did to get on TV. And just to see that again, I'm a big proponent. It's watching something grow. We've talked about that kind of a theme through this podcast as well. But watching, we were talking about Brad Baylor, Ricky Smokes earlier. Look where they are now versus where they were a year ago. It's
Right.
crazy.
Exactly. I know. And that conversation we have in our household all the time because we very much worry, well, I should say JJ is very much worried about the day where Shannon gets sent to Florida. So, you
Enjoy
know,
everything while you can.
and we've had the genuine discussion. We've had a genuine discussion of if Shannon ever becomes NXT, are we gonna like move to Florida? Like my daughter has had this discussion.
I will say, if your daughter's over summer in the heat, she is not going to be well in Florida. Let me tell
She's
you,
not. I
that
know. I know.
humidity is a
My
killer.
dad. My dad actually lives in Winter Park, Florida. For the
Is in
uninitiated,
Fort Lauderdale.
yeah, but for the uninitiated, it's basically a suburb of Orlando, and he lives about 10 minutes from Full Sail University, actually, where all that stuff really kicked off. So I know the Performance Center is not a Full Sail, guys. I'm not an idiot. I'm just saying that for the other uninitiated people, that's just to give you a general description of where he lives. He lives just down the street from there, and we've talked about the idea of visiting. And she hates the heat, so which is ironic because she was born in Arizona, so you think she would be born of it, but she hates the heat. So maybe it's just a winter thing. I do want to eventually get a house down south for the winter so I can avoid the snow, to be quite frank. So I think
Weather
you
patterns of lately, you might get some snow in Florida too. Who knows?
yeah. No, they did. They had snow.
They did. My dad had snow. He said,
Yeah, I had a coworker who went down to Florida for a vacation, and like I think it was the week before he went down there, that area, it was more towards the Gulf Coast. It got snow, which was unbelievable. It's completely insane. But I know JJ wouldn't mind if we visited Grandpa a few times if certain Shannon Levangie was NXT performance center all the time.
wouldn't be surprised if that was the case in a few years because she is relentless.
She is. She truly is. fantastic talent, and she's so young, so she's got so much ahead of her. But
Everyone had different different flavors, right? We're going back to the theme of everyone has a different moment, different favorite moment, different core memory. You don't have the same ones I do.
right,
Doesn't mean they're bad, doesn't mean they're
right.
wrong.
My first wrestling show, WWE show, I went to the Raw. And this Raw has be kind of gone, I don't know if you want to say infamous or famous or whatever, but everyone remembers the Raw where the Hardy Boys beat Brock Lesnar with chairs in the face, and he like pretty much
Yes.
no-sold the whole thing. That was the first WWE show, first wrestling show versus Raw, first anything I had ever been to. I think I was about 14, 15 years old. And I remember being in the audience when the Hardy Boys showed up and started pelting him in the face. It sounded like gunshots. Genuinely sounded like gunshots. Um, and I know it's become a very famous moment of that whole thing going. That whole angle was super famous with Brock Lesnar coming out and fighting the Hardy Boys. But I'll never forget my fact that my mom, she literally had to like, she was working at a fast food restaurant at the time, and her boss was like 25. He was much younger than she was, but he was a huge wrestling fan, and she literally was like, "I will pay you for gas money and a parking ticket or whatever if you take my son with you to go to Raw," basically. So I went to Raw basically with this guy that I'd never met him before in my life. Didn't really know. I just knew he was my mom's boss, so I had to be polite. And
90s wrestling fan, nothing can go wrong with that.
exactly. So we went and we're like, hey, he showed up at the house. He's like, "You're Chris." I'm like, "Yep, that's me. You're Tony. Let's go, bro." And the drive from West Phoenix to downtown was like, I think like 45 minutes, and we became best friends that night for sure. Like we became really, he literally started coming over and hanging out with me all the time after that, because he would come over and watch pay-per-views and shit with us. He would pay for pay-per-views. He'd bring pizza. You know what I mean? Like, because we just bonded over that Raw together. And those core memories that we created together. Love you, Tony. Shout out to Tony, man. So I couldn't agree with you more is what I'm saying, because maybe other people went to that night, maybe they didn't give two shits, but I went to that thing and I I'll never forget thinking that somebody pulled a gun out in that place. And
If we're talking, first in wrestling, core memories of wrestling, I'll tell you, coming from I've lived in Connecticut my entire life, so WWE did come to Hartford quite a lot at the time. WrestleMania was at Hartford, one of the worst ones. Man, I was not a fan then, so I didn't know about wrestling there, so I did not go to WrestleMania in Hartford. What I did go to in Hartford was my very first wrestling show as a Monday Night Raw, where Stephanie McMahon got put on a crucifix,
oh my God.
and Stone Cold also did. But yeah, I was at those. Those were in Hartford. So as a child, we're talking like that's got to be like 98, 99. So I'm
Yeah.
9,
Yeah,
10
yeah,
years
yeah.
old. And the very first show I go to, someone gets crucified.
The
So
ministry.
I was told right off the bat in wrestling.
Oh my God.
But yeah, that's definitely a core memory. Hartford Civic Center, Stephanie McMahon, Stone Cold, all of them on the crucifix. That was something. And
That
Stephanie got kidnapped. That's the whole thing. But
Yeah, no. I've had that discussion on the podcast before, talking about the ministry, the corporate ministry, the whole that entire that entire saga was just completely
it's a
insane.
fever
Like,
dream.
I don't think you definitely could not do that now on television. It would never be
There's a
allowed
lot of things.
whatsoever.
I mean, that's a whole nother podcast for another day. The things you could do in the
Exactly.
attitude area that you can do nowadays. And boy,
Right.
there are some
Right.
doozies.
Right. I can't say, and you were talking about the idea of bringing, rando, as I like to call them, randos to a wrestling show,
Yeah.
or normies, rando
Popping
normies.
the cherries, baby's first
Right.
wrestling.
My, I was out of town for a full week to Las Vegas. So there was a chaotic wrestling show that was going to occur that Friday, the day before WrestleMania, and I obviously can't bring JJ. I'm in Las Vegas. And coincidentally, I actually got a free ticket to SmackDown from Simon Miller. So you know, it was pretty insane. It was a
Pretty
crazy
free.
Friday night, you know? And, my ex-wife of all people who has never seen wrestling, like, would refuse to watch it with me for sure. She actually volunteered to take our daughter with her boyfriend to a show, and I don't know, my ex-wife made it seem like she actually enjoyed herself, so, like, my brain has been kinda wanting to peel that onion back and be like, "Well, how did it go?" But I at the
She's
same
holding
time
back. You know damn right she's holding back, 'cause if even there was just a slight bit of, "Hey, that was kinda cool." You got it.
yeah.
She's hooked. But that's how it starts. I mean, that's how any addiction starts. You get a little taste. Let me get a taste. Shout out Daddy Magic, love him. What makes Daddy Magic's nipples hard? Sorry, that needs to be brought back. We need more nipple conversation in wrestling. I'm sorry. Male nipple conversations in wrestling. We need it. We need it. Uh, all right, we've been talking for almost over 3 hours now. It's definitely going off the rails now. We're talking about male nipples. I'll tell you that. This podcast has made my nipples hard, but I digress, as a grown man
So
would say.
Daddy
We're
Magic.
off the rails now
I
for
did
sure.
I did meet him at an AEW show though. I got the VIP. You got the chair. You had to have gotten the VIP treatment for that show, right? Did you do the VIP?
Yeah, I'll peel back the curtain a little bit. I used All in Texas last year of AEW as my graduation out of fandom, if that makes sense. So I will first make sure my screen doesn't power off. Give me 1 second. I just got your screen will power off in 5 minutes message. Okay. Um, so yeah, I'll peel back that curtain a little bit. So, and this is where I first met Purdy Kurt Adonis. We were talking about Mr. Kurt. I not first time I met him, but I actually met him. He was running Starcade, which was happening
Oh
down
yeah.
at
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
um, in Texas, and I kind of picked his brain for a little bit. One of the greatest minds I've ever talked to in wrestling, and he kind of gave me some tips and tricks of what was going to be next. So I used All In Texas as a little vacation, little boy vacation for your boy. Stayed at the hotel attached to the field with the pool, with the screen, and I was a little bougie, I gotta say, if I myself. But yeah, I sat front row for All in Texas last year because I'd never sat front row for any wrestling event, so it was one of my bucket list items to do. So I decided for that to be All in Texas last year, which was unreal, that show from start to finish. But being a part of that energy from literally at ringside was that's when I said, "This is what I want to do." I want to be a part of this production somehow. I'm not saying just at AEW. I'm not trying, they put on a great show. I'm just saying in wrestling in general, watching what I watch from a standpoint of the production standpoint and just seeing how things were done on top of just loving the show itself and enjoying. I have a selfie with the Rizzler because of that, which is a holy grail of mine. The kid is, I don't even want to get into the conversations, but talk about getting a golden ticket. You've just friends with these guys that yell about a big box store. Now you're a multimillionaire as a toddler, as a big chunky toddler. That kid has it made. Talk about the American dream. But anyways, I digress. Yeah, so going to All in Texas, sit in front row ringside, and I use that again. I don't think I've been to a major show since. No AEW, no WWE, no TNAs, nothing like that. And I've since then focused all of my attention on the shows that I'm working on. Like I said, will I watch a show or two during the week of mainstream wrestling? Absolutely. But most of since then, I've committed specifically to focusing on the shows that I'm going to be a part of and the wrestlers here in the New England area that I'm going to be calling so I can learn my craft better. I can be able to call their matches and their moves better, and it all thanks to me making that decision at All in Texas last year. And that was a cool event. I got a couple chairs from WrestleMania too, so having a collection of some chairs too is really neat. And again, it reminds me of where I came from. So if you want to talk about collecting things, being a fan, yeah, absolutely, I was a fan. I'm not afraid to say it. Am I still a fan? Absolutely. Do I collect as many things? No, but good because we're in here. But having these things, and it reminds me like where you all came from a fandom somehow. And I know we talked about that earlier too, but it's just another reminder of how much I love this business, how much I love what I do. And having that experience down there in Texas and being able to experience such a gigantic event from right front and center was unlike going because when we were talking about WrestleMania earlier, going to WrestleMania, quote unquote, is great. It's fun. But when you're sitting 300 rows from the ring, little different experience than going to a Monday Night Raw and sitting, type of thing. So being right there in the mecca, in the center of the energy was so much different than what I'd experienced. And that's when I kind of turned off my, I don't want to say turned off my fandom, but the switch flipped for me. And I said, okay, I know what I have to do now. And we stand here now, May 18th, almost a year later. And I think I'm doing a pretty damn good job for myself. So give myself some flowers here.
There you go. There you go. And you know what? Perfect bookend for us. Perfect bookend for us. Once again, you were at the New Order Wrestling, the up and coming, right? I think they're on their 5th show.
Yeah, this is New Order's 5th show. This is the 3rd that I've been a part of. But yeah, if we're gonna talk about shows coming up and we're gonna close this puppy out, it is May 18th. So come check out Tetsu Pro in Bristol, Connecticut on May 30th. Check out Pure Vanguard Wrestling coming up on June 13th. And when I say check it out, it means I'll be there. You can check me out there. You can check out all the wrestling happening between now and then. Please do. But if you want to see Cory Von Quest, that guy's the best. Yeah, we'll be at Pure Vanguard on the 13th. We'll be at BST, Blood, Sweat, and Tears on the 27th. Jake Gray hosting that event on the 4th of July in Stafford on July 4th. We got New Order Wrestling coming back July 11th. All these other dates that I'm about to say are tentative, so please don't. I know everyone comes to this specific podcast for their summer wrestling schedule, but New Order Wrestling, we're going to crown new tag team champions. We saw Duke Boys, Mr. Saturday Night, Corey Duke and Caleb Duke versus Shock and Awe for those tag team championships coming up July 11th. Then we got Vanguard on August 8th. And then we got a bunch of other stuff after that because no one's going to forget or remember anything I say right now. So yeah, we got a couple shows coming up. Looking forward to them.
Awesome. That's great. I love the fact that you had that ready to go, because I was definitely going to make sure you plugged everything else. I know we probably plugged it 5 times by now, but why not get the 5th and final or 6th and final right before we close it out for sure. But hey man, it's been a wonderful, I've had a genuine, I especially after meeting the other day, I was like, all right, we're just gonna, normally I have to at least read or whatever. And I did write like 30 questions, but I never even really looked at it or even read one of them. We just shot from the hip. And I love the fact that we just rolled this whole thing together. It was beautiful. It was absolutely beautiful. So once again, I genuinely appreciate and thanking you coming on the podcast. I'll make sure to hit you up in the future for some other stuff, because sounds like we're thinking alike on some stuff.
Yes. Hey, anytime I got more stories and more things to talk about. I know we spent 3. It's kind of crazy. I didn't realize what time it was, but
Yeah.
the fact that we spent this time, and I still got a lot more shit to talk about someday. So
Exactly.
yeah, anytime we want to chat more, I'm more help it. I think you and I have some very similar wavelength on ideas for the future too, and I think that's something we can talk about offline, as they
Exactly.
say in the biz.
And for anybody trying to remember what I said was next, Ref Nick Mitchell is going to be that. I actually have 3 more podcasts this week. So Ref Nick Mitchell is Tuesday night. Tim Bosby, the prospect out of Memphis, Tennessee, is coming on the podcast for Wednesday night. I have the Wind Dragon, Dustin Wen. He is going to be Thursday night's podcast. And the next one after that I could think about is the Dreamheart Cody from down in Arizona, who I also met in Las Vegas. So met
What a
him.
lineup.
It's going to be a full lineup. We got plenty of podcasts coming at you. Make sure you check out Cory Von Quest. That guy's the best,
That guy's the
baby.
best.
Woo! There
On
it is.
Instagram at Cory Von Quest. We're on YouTube at Cory Von Quest. We just got the Facebook page up. I'm going to tell you right now, I hate Facebook. I'm sorry, I gotta say it, but we'll be on there if you want to interact that way. Cory Von Quest, you can see it written right here and the Instagram tag right there. You can get this beautiful shirt whenever you see me, or hit me up on Instagram. I'll ship it to you for free. I don't care. If you want to wear a shirt, I'll ship it. You got to pay for the shirt, but I'll do the shipping for free. But I got stickers, I got stuff. Come see me. And again, just hit me up on Instagram. That's where I do most of my work. You can see all my videos. I got a lot of silly edits on there from wrestling. We'll have New Order Wrestling Spring Stunner done and edited this week. You'll see that on there as YouTube as well. But Chris, man, I've had a ball. I would love to do this again in some way, shape, or form, whether it's together with someone or just do this again. Man, I had a blast. So thank you so much for, first of all, giving me this opportunity to come on here. Thanks for introducing me to your awesome family, your daughter last week at New Order. Thanks for coming out and supporting New Order Wrestling, more importantly, and support all the wrestling that you support and things like giving us people that are working in these independent promotions the opportunity. I've seen a lot of your interviews. Patrick Saint interview was awesome, by the way. Woo,
Thank
woo.
you.
Love Patrick Saint.
I love Patrick. He's
But
a
yeah,
great guy.
Nick Mitchell, man, you don't want to miss that one, folks. That one's gonna be a good one. Hopefully, you didn't want to miss this one either. I know it was
There
a
you
little
go.
bit long.
There you go. All right. Well, thank you so much. And for everybody else, we'll see you on the next one.